at 7 o'clock of the Dayton Conservation Commission on Tuesday, December 19. This meeting is being recorded on cable broadcast and internet posting at www.dayton-mass.gov and YouTube. Would everyone stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? The first item on the agenda is actually a chairman's address. And what I would like to say to the community is that for the past several years now, the commission has been active with the American Chestnut Foundation, trying to foster the regrowth of American chestnuts throughout Dayton. We had a good harvest this year of chestnuts. Maybe many of you saw them. One tree anyway produced many nuts, and it was encircled by an orange fence. Those nuts are being wintered now, and they will be planted in the spring. If any of the people in the community feel that they have sufficient land that backs up to forest, and they would like to become part of this program, I wish that you could give in your name, address, and phone number to the Conservation Office, and we will check to see the how many trees we actually get out of the nuts that have been harvested already. And then calls will go out in the spring if we have sufficient numbers to foster the regeneration of the American chestnut in Dayton. Thank you. Okay, we have the previous minutes. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting?
I'd like to propose a motion to accept the minutes from the meeting of Thursday, November 16th, 2023.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we have a continued hearing from DI Trust. Comprehensive Conservation Subdivision seeks to construct 135 single-family homes and 13,137 linear feet of associated roadway off Forest Street. DEP file number SE 17-443.
Would the commission like to hear from us first or from the peer review engineer?
I think from you would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's totally
but
fine.
Jim, you did have something to say about this before we start?
Okay, due to the large audience, we are going to cap the time limit on this item to 8 o'clock. The applicant and the peer review will get the needed time that they feel fit, and anyone in the audience wishing to speak may have up to 3 minutes, but at 8 o'clock, we will close off any discussion on this item.
All right, well, thank you, members of the commission. If you'll indulge me, I'd like to take a few minutes, given the amount of time that's passed on this particular project, and discuss a few items. So, as I'm sure everyone's aware, just by a brief overview, this is a 135-unit conservation subdivision with 35 age-restricted units that's located primarily in Dayton. It's a phased project. There's a small piece in Taunton, a detention basin, and recently the Taunton Conservation Commission did issue an order of conditions on its portion of the project. So the current posture of this project is that it's been reviewed by about 5 different peer review engineers, many of whom looked at similar and overlapping issues to Beta. A number of the comments have overlapped and conflicted, which was one of the issues with not having one review firm. The town has acknowledged that and is moving forward in a different way with Weston and Sampson. However, that's been very expensive for the applicant. That being said, with respect to this particular matter, Beta provided approximately 60 comments. I believe we've effectively addressed all 60 comments. The most recent round of comments provided by Beta was on November 8th. Outback, our engineer responded on December 5th. And although I won't speak for Beta, I will paraphrase. Essentially, they identified 4 open items on page 3 of their November 9th, it's November 8th letter, sorry. Essentially, basin setback issue or concern, the issues related to the central vernal pool, issues related to an invasive species plan, and issues related to the SWIP. So we'll address all 4 of those, not quite in order, but we'll speak to them shortly. We're going to generally rely on the comments of our December 5th letter unless otherwise stated this evening, but that letter cumulatively speaks to all the issues that have been raised by Beta. Outback can speak to the engineering items that were identified. There were approximately 5 of them in that letter, if this commission would like to hear at the conclusion of my portion of the presentation. So beginning with, I'm sure you're all familiar with Beta's comments. They effectively broke them down by comment, W, A, T, G, and we will generally track those references for purposes of our statements this evening. So comment W9, generally related to the invasive species plan. We will agree to provide a copy of an invasive species plan and the name and qualifications of an environmental specialist prior to beginning construction. That was special condition number 28 in the Taunton Conservation Commission's order of conditions, and is something we are willing to provide for this commission, of course. Going a little out of turn, jumping to comment G2. So comment G2 is an item that was raised by Beta related to essentially where you measure the basin from. I won't get more technical than that unless you'd like me to. I'm not an engineer. But essentially, they flagged a potential interpretation by DEP based upon an email from DEP. But what you see before you this evening has been designed in accordance with existing laws and regulations. It incorporates standard practices, requirements, and criteria. And the measurement item and issue and concept raised by Beta is not supported by any existing law or regulation. So government agencies make laws, make regulations. They're not allowed to create unwritten laws. It's arbitrary and capricious. And nobody here would want to be bound by laws and regulations that aren't written down. And DEP's own email, dated December 16th, 2021, which was attached to one round of Beta's comments, explicitly acknowledges that the methodology for measurement does not exist in the current regulations. It states that they have to amend their existing law and go through a public comment period to apply that measurement criteria. It is not in the existing law. So that email exists in the record. So in addition, these plans have been looked at by Outback Engineering, LEC Environmental, Green International, the Stormwater Subcommittee's engineer, the Taunton Conservation Commission, and none of them have raised this as an issue. And the Taunton Conservation Commission issued its order of conditions without this requirement, which matters because it speaks to how this issue is actually interpreted by other commissions and what is customarily and usually done. So the other piece I would mention on this particular item, and I'll come back to it in greater detail, is that at the end of the day, and a very important component of this project analysis from the Conservation Commission's perspective is that this is a conservation subdivision. And I'll get into that in a little more detail, but it matters for purposes of setbacks and how items are designed here. So moving on to the next comment G23, which relates to the SWIP. We provided comments on this in our prior written responses, but this is really an EPA issue. We will apply for NPDES when appropriate, and that governs and controls the SWIP. So to be very clear to this commission, we will provide a copy of the SWIP before we commence construction. Once it's been applied for with the EPA and prior to construction, this commission will be provided a copy. Taunton Concom accepted a similar provision, special condition number 35 in its order of conditions. So moving on to the piece of this sort of discussion that's going to take a little bit more time, but I think is important for the commission to hear and understand and for us to present this evening, is comment W16 provided by Beta, which relates to the centrally located vernal pool. So this item began through the sort of iteration and series of comments from peer review comments from Beta as essentially subparagraph A, hydrology, subparagraph B, navigation between the vernal pool and the southwest and northeast wetlands, and subparagraph C, which related to reducing house lots within 100 feet of the vernal pool, and that was set forth in Beta's May 3rd, 2022 comments. So subparagraph A, the hydrology issue, Beta has stated in comments that they agree that that's been resolved. Beta agrees, this is a quote, Beta agrees that the project as currently designed is unlikely to adversely affect the hydrology of the vernal pool. Subparagraph C of those May 3rd comments, which was, if you remember, reducing the house lots. We adjusted the lots as recommended by Beta. There's more detail on this coming. It is already a conservation subdivision, which the very spirit of that concept is that projects have denser housing to create more conservation area and more open space, which this does. We don't think it would entirely be fair to now have the concept of utilizing a conservation subdivision held against us when the very design is intended to reflect a project like this. So on the issue of the conservation subdivision, I just want to remind this commission, as I'm sure they're aware, that when you're looking at this project, you need to look at the overall cumulative impact on resource areas. And we're preserving a ton of acreage here. So the open space on this is 82.29 acres, which is 60% of all the land. 20% is the minimum, and we're providing 3 times that. And 20 acres of that open space is wetland. So the process of creating the conservation subdivision also relates to another item that was flagged by Beta as relates to the vernal pool, which is an analysis of the alternative siting of the project. So the project you see before you was an iterative process that took place over multiple years with the planning board and the landscape architect that was recommended by the planning board to DI Trust. Numerous designs were evaluated. The original design, numerous versions of the conservation subdivision, 40B designs, and this was the final design. And it's been further evaluated, adjusted, and modified based upon the comments that were provided by Beta. So the very spirit of a conservation subdivision is that you look at the overall greater good and the value of the conservation bylaw and the conservation subdivision. You're not just looking at this vernal pool in a vacuum. So for the record, and to sort of identify for the board and for this commission, a little bit of the background on this so they understand the siting and evaluation that did go into this overall project. We actually pulled some minutes from the planning board meeting of July 25th, 2001. At this planning board meeting, attorneys for both the applicant, the planning board, and the landscape architect that was recommended by the planning board were present. And I just want to read to you a couple of the selective components that identify the open space characteristics and the resource area values and the thoughts that went into the conservation subdivision. So it talks about, Attorney Bobrowski, who represented the planning board, talks about the fact that what we did was, we agreed at the time that we would engage a landscape architect, work with the developer, and explore different avenues instead of 145 fairly cookie-cut units that existed in the original plan. The original plan pretty much ate up all the land with house sites, so with very little open space left. Peter Flinker, who was a landscape architect with Dotson Associates in Marshfield, Mass., was brought in, and Peter came down numerous times, met with the developer, came into the shop of the developer, and worked on devising a scheme that ultimately resulted in this design. So Peter Flinker, the landscape architect from Dodson, shared some observation. He observed very specifically that they were looking at the text of the conservation subdivision bylaw and the best way specifically to develop this property. So from the standpoint of the conservation development, he stated it was pretty easy. So the thing that has the most value to the town in terms of natural resources is the streams which flow down. Sunken Brook, which flows into the river. There's also another stream. This area creates a rich wildlife habitat as they run through the shallow valleys west of the property. I'm not directly quoting, but I'm paraphrasing. This leads us to the conclusion that the best place to develop on the site is more to the eastern half adjacent to the existing village. That's why you see the project being developed on this side of Sunken Brook with the density that you see, because all the additional acreage to the western side has been dedicated to open space. So the landscape architect spoke to, we started with the 145 lot subdivision, which is a standard subdivision that basically divided up the entirety of the site. Now you have all this additional land that has been preserved. There's nice interior open space that gives the community a sense of focus. You arrive at a centrally located open space surrounded by houses, and those are relatively small lots by design. Behind these lots is a common area where the woods are preserved, which connects one open space down to another open space that's the center of another neighborhood. I'm paraphrasing not for you to follow exactly the analysis that was done, but for you to understand the analysis that was done on a greater level for the purposes of the open space. All the land around the outside is preserved as open space, and we tried to keep a big area, an open buffer, on one side of the lot. I don't think I need to bore you with too much more of the additional detail, other than to note that they did acknowledge that the question of whether it's Plan A or Plan B or everything else is sort of negotiable in terms of timetables, road widths, drainage locations, and who owns the open space. It was an iterative process, so they talk about alternative siting, and obviously a lot of effort went into the design, the layout, and the siting of the project to help comply with, to help create a project that complied with the conservation bylaw and created all this open space. So, coming back to the comments, originally, as I stated, there was a subparagraph A, subparagraph B, and subparagraph C from the May comments. Subparagraph B, which, just to refresh your recollection, spoke to the issue of navigation between the vernal pool and the southwest and northeast wetlands, sort of morphed into a different comment as the sort of back and forth proceeded, which is a little bit funky, felt candidly a little bit like moving the goalpost, but I think Beta was just trying to help work through it. But that subparagraph B became 3 different comments in the November 8th, 2023 comment letter. So the first one,
Could you tell us exactly what page that is? Is it 19?
I can't tell you exactly what page it is, give me one moment. It's comment W17, 16. It is page 19. You'll see subparagraphs Little Romanet 1, Little Romanet 2, and Little Romanet 3.
Yeah.
So that,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So with respect to Little Romanet 1, I'll read it for the benefit of the public. The construction of dwellings and roadways around, this is Beta's comment, the construction of dwellings and roadways around the entirety of the vernal pool with no provision for migration corridors will significantly diminish the ability for wildlife to use the vernal pool for breeding, and therefore could be found by the commission to constitute an alteration of the resource area. So section 7 of the bylaw says that vernal pools are treated the same as isolated vegetative wetlands. The setback requirements are that no subsurface sewage drainage disposal systems will be permitted within 100 feet of the buffer zone of any wetland. No dwelling or structure will be built less than 50 feet from the outer edge of any wetland. There's a 25-foot minimum undisturbed vegetative buffer. If it were a wetland, you could work up to the 25-foot buffer. No one really gets upset about this. Bylaw says IVWs and vernal pools are treated the same.
Actually, in fact, it's different, right? I mean, we came across this recently. It's a 225 foot off a vernal pool.
It's not, because the way that the bylaw defines the vernal pool is it takes it to a much greater degree than the median line. So the 25-foot run, the vernal pool definition under the bylaw, which, to be candid with you, I'm not entirely sure it makes sense in and of itself, is that first circle that you see. The 25 feet is the second circle. Jason, Brian, am I right on that? By the way, here with me this evening, if you have any questions, Jason Youngquist from Outback Engineering, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental, and Kyle also from Outback. So it's that 25-foot setback that exists with respect to the wetlands and vernal pool that I'm referring to. And the bylaw says the wetland and the vernal pools are given the same setbacks. So, we comply with this setback requirement. So this project has been designed to comply with the bylaws and the vernal pool setbacks. No work is proposed within 125 feet of the vernal pool depression, and the conceptual structures are 150 feet up gradient. The limit of work varies from 125 to 325 linear feet up gradient of the on-site vernal pool depression. And I apologize for sharing a lot of this information again. A lot of it's in our written submission already, but I think it's important to have the discussion given the amount of time that's passed here. So The wetlands that Beta references in one of their comments are not close. They're way outside of the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. The centrally located vernal pool to the southwestern BVW that Beta references adjacent to Sunken Brook is 1,100 feet, which is about 4 football fields. The central vernal pool to the northeast BVW, the one adjacent to Forest Street, is 800 feet, so about 3 football fields away. And there's no other wildlife habitat that connects within this 200-foot, and even at the 200-foot radius, you still wouldn't have a migratory path. It would be a bridge to nowhere. It would be outside the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. And remember, the bylaw actually talks about wildlife habitat, not wildlife itself. And so the request to consider a plan revision that would provide a means for wildlife that requires use of the vernal pool for breeding to navigate between the southwestern or northeastern wetland complexes and the vernal pool goes beyond the jurisdictional scope of the WPA and the bylaws, both as to distance and substance. Now, speaking to the actual terms of the bylaw, as Beta notes, there are no performance standards in the bylaw for work within the buffer zone. However, the bylaw does not stipulate specific performance standards for proposed work within vernal pool buffer zones, as I said. There's no standard saying you can't encircle a vernal pool. There's no standard requiring migratory paths within the 200-foot buffer. There's no standard requiring migratory paths beyond the 200-foot buffer. And there's no standard requiring connectivity to the closest BVW. So if we didn't own the land that was this close, I don't think we'd even be having the conversation about connecting to the bordering vegetative wetland. But it is relevant, the overall project, as we talked about previously, and it's still well beyond the 200-foot measure. There's a somewhat related comment, W7, which is more focused on the construction period. It does state that the project documents do not provide provisions for the protection of breeding and migration of vernal pool species. And that comment was deemed resolved in the November 8th, 2023 comments. But Beta has still noted that comment W16, as I've been discussing, remains open. So, ultimately, through the analysis that we provided and the statements that we provided, the work within the buffers, it's clear that the work within the buffer zone will not cumulatively adversely affect the wildlife habitat. And it's about habitat, and we can show we're not adversely impacting the areas and its function because we're not impacting the hydrology, and we've maximized the buffers where we can. And this is a conservation subdivision that speaks to the overall benefit. The standard for evidence that we provided clearly, I think, is the preponderance of evidence, of credible evidence, that the proposed work will not have an unacceptable, significant, or cumulative effect upon the resource area values. And I think we've clearly established that. Subparagraph 2 of those comments, again, on page 19, which I will read for the benefit of the public. Beta provides, Section 6 of the bylaw states that the commission is empowered to deny a permit for failure to avoid or prevent unacceptable, significant, or cumulative effects upon the resource area values protected by this bylaw, and where no conditions are adequate to protect those values. That's a quote. Beta then states, should the commission find that the dense construction around the vernal pool and within associated migration corridors constitutes an alteration of the resource area, then the applicant would not have demonstrated avoiding or preventing alteration of the vernal pool as defined under the bylaws. Now, I'm going to share with you some technical information, but I think it's important because we don't believe that that's an accurate statement. We believe we've satisfied the requirement. So this project has been designed to comply with the bylaw and required vernal pool setbacks. No work is proposed within 125 feet of the vernal pool depression, and conceptual structures are 150 feet up gradient. The limit of work varies from 125 to 325 linear feet up gradient of the on-site vernal pool depression. And although conceptual houses are shown, the NOI does not include individual houses and appurtenant construction. Again, this information is contained in prior submissions, but I wanted to share it with the commission again this evening. To address Beta's comments, the applicant has proposed to expand the protected, undisturbed, forested upland habitat surrounding the on-site vernal pool. A total of 121,566 square feet, approximately 2.8 acres, is now proposed to be protected within 200 feet of the vernal pool depression. That represents 77.2% of the total square footage within the 200 feet area, 157,433 square feet. An additional 5,247 square feet will also be protected up gradient of 200 feet on lots 27 and 96, representing a cumulative protected habitat area of 2.91 acres surrounding the vernal pool depression. The nearly 3 acres surrounding the vernal pool depression will continue to provide upland terrestrial overwintering habitat for the woodland frog and spotted salamander documented by Beta to breed within the vernal pool. In addition to design measures and setbacks that protect wildlife habitat, the applicant is providing a substantial open space within the project, as I identified previously. Open space 1 includes Sunken Brook and associated wetlands, in addition to forested upland west of Sudden Brook, connected to a larger contiguous block of undeveloped habitat extending further to the west. This habitat block contains extensive tracts of forested upland, wetlands, perennial and intermittent streams, and potential vernal pools that will continue to provide wetland habitat. The entire project is designed to preserve and protect. It's a conservation subdivision. The density here exists to preserve the open space in the other areas that otherwise could have been developed. So section 6 of the bylaw says that due consideration shall be given to any demonstrated hardship on the applicant by reason of denial as presented at the public hearing. So denial in this instance would require an appeal or us going back to the planning board, because this layout that you see before you, which again was the byproduct of an iterative process, is actually a binding court order on us. And this project, in this vernal pool in particular, is directly adjacent to the majority of the lots adjacent to it are the 55 plus homes, which was something that was specifically negotiated by the planning board. So, the landscape architect, which is, it's referenced in the settlement agreement, and I shared the comments from the meetings with you earlier, ultimately was designed to create 83 acres of open space, 55 plus housing and fewer units. So it gets lost that this design, or I don't know if it gets lost, but I think it's important to remember that this design was intentional. It was designed to function like this. In many instances, the design was actually, created at the behest of the landscape architect and the feedback of consultants, because they were trying to create a village feel. So what you see is, a narrow road there, Road E. Well, that's because they wanted it to feel more like a village. It's designed to replicate the North Dighton area. That's another component of what was shared by the landscape architect. Some lots are bigger, some are smaller, different housing sizes in that area. So, this was all done by design with the town, and it may have been another agency of the town, but I think it's safe to say that it would be particularly unfair when this project was created to help address the interests of the town as part of that settlement. And, we've taken steps, not building in the setbacks, taken steps to minimize the impact, creating the open space to have that, not be evaluated in the overall context. So, we're creating this conservation subdivision, we're complying with the setback requirements, we're providing an enormous amount of additional open space. It's all in connection with discussions with the town and the benefits of the town that were negotiated. It doesn't result in an unacceptable effect, and the bylaw permits significant and cumulative effects so long as they are, like in this case, acceptable. So the third comment that was provided in that November 8th correspondence by Beta, subparagraph 3, which again I'll read for the benefit of the public. Beta comment, section 6 of the bylaw also states that the commission is empowered to deny a permit for failure to site the project in an alternative manner with less potential impact where such siting is clearly possible. Beta then, that was a quote, Beta then states, the applicant has maintained that a historic settlement agreement reached with the planning board to which the Conservation Commission does not appear to have been made a party entitles them to development of the project as proposed. Therefore, the applicant has not provided any analysis of potential alternatives to provide greater protection of the habitat value to the vernal pool. You guys didn't sign the settlement agreement. We know that. We're not telling you that you have to magically act like you were. But the bylaw is talking about the project. It's saying to look at the project. That's what this particular provision says. This is not about trying to make you guys be bound by the settlement agreement, but it is very much relevant that we went through a multi-year iterative process to create this conservation subdivision with this design in that open space. So it's not appropriate to look at this in a vacuum. It has to be looked in the context of the overall project. So again, not to keep repeating myself, I've already identified the benefits of this project and what it was intended to accomplish, and the fact that it was an iterative process, alternatives were analyzed, and this is the design that creates less potential impact. So, generally, Beta talks a little bit in these categories about the sort of purpose of the bylaw test, which is at best ambiguous, and by Beta's own admission lacks standards. But where there are standards, we've met the established standards in the form of the setback requirements. And if we're looking at the big picture, the sort of purpose of bylaw type stuff, then you have before you a project that donates an incredible amount of land to open space, does a lot of other things that were designed for the benefit of the town, and we think that that cumulatively, along with the materials that we have submitted to date, the presentation before you tonight establishes that we've provided credible evidence, and certainly preponderance of the evidence, that the proposed work will not have an unacceptable, significant, or cumulative effect upon the resource area values protected by the bylaws. So I realize that was probably more than you were expecting to hear to begin this meeting, but I did want to share it with you. And then before I hand over the microphone, Jason, Brian, would you like to hear anything on the engineering side of what was submitted recently, or do you want to leave that to the engineers? Suffice to say that there were 5 comments in the most recent round of comments provided by Beta that were engineering issues that Outback addressed in their most recent submission on December 5th.
I think given that it's 7:33 and you have a room full of people and we still need to hear from Beta, I think.
Yeah, can we just go to Beta now?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I just want to give you I wanted to.
Okay.
Oh, Brian, Jason, are you guys good?
Very thorough.
Yeah, thorough. Sorry, it was thorough. I tried to make it thorough.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Good evening, members of the commission. Jonathan Nero, project scientist with Beta Group, performed the peer review on this project on the wetland side. Unfortunately, Gary James, our stormwater engineer, could not make the meeting tonight, but I'm well acquainted with the issues raised in our letter, and I can speak to those as well. So just a bit about process to talk about here, and I'd like to just state that you folks have a copy of our letter, you have all the documentation. I'm not going to go through it verbatim, but I do want to highlight a few primary points that are both within our letter and that were brought up tonight by the applicant. So we did issue our last letter on November 8th. The applicant then responded. We felt it prudent to then at least take a look through these documents, and although we didn't have a formal response prepared for this meeting, we felt that it would be best addressed speaking to it in this meeting. I'd like to go back just before I go through these primary issues to this notion of the settlement agreement that was reached in the early 2000s between the planning board, the town of Dayton, as well as the applicant. It's our understanding that the Dayton Conservation Commission is charged with reviewing this project in accordance with the State Wetlands Protection Act and the Dayton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. While we understand and are sensitive to other legal processes that might be at play with this project, by no means is the commission exercising their jurisdictional review abilities looking at this in a vacuum. The commission is charged with a more methodical and discrete method of review, and that's what we feel that our letter speaks to in our comments and how the commission has been approaching the review. So, as stated by the applicant, there are a few, we would call outstanding issues. They deal primarily with the vernal pool, which was discussed, as well as a couple of stormwater issues. Just to kind of start with the things that we do agree on, I think the majority of the comments in the letter were addressed. Some of the issues spoken to by the applicant tonight, including the preparation of the SWIP at the appropriate time and providing a copy of the Conservation Commission, preparing an invasive species management plan, everything of that nature that can be conditioned, we feel is more than appropriate to do so. So the first issue to bring up is the vernal pool that was just discussed by the applicant. So, we concur, as noted by the applicant, that the applicant and their consultant, LEC, has put some good thought into a construction period plan to protect this vernal pool. We take no real exception, aside with a few recommendations, to where it stands now. The issue that our letter raises in comment W16 is the proposed construction, or rather the proposed conditions that would result from the construction around the vernal pool. So, one thing I do want to state as well, just for the record, is that, Beta, in doing this review, I know there was reference by the applicant to moving the proverbial goalposts of the review. We added this additional information regarding the bylaw to our review because the applicant's previous response had stated that the commission did not have jurisdiction, essentially require any kind of further analysis or potential design revisions that Beta had noted. And that's why we provided some of the additional information going through the aspects of the bylaw. And so I just want to reiterate some of those. Some were already reiterated by the applicant in his presentation. But primarily what we looked at, with the understanding that there are no specific performance standards like the Wetlands Protection Act has for resources in the bylaw. There are several definitions and sections that speak to how the commission protects resource areas. One of which is section 1, stating that the commission is tasked with activities or reviewing activities deemed to have a significant or cumulative effect on resource area values, including wildlife habitat, and goes on to define alter or an alteration as incremental activities which have or may have a cumulative adverse impact on the resource areas protected by this bylaw. It is our professional opinion that effectively boxing in this vernal pool will diminish its abilities to provide breeding habitat and temporary wildlife habitat for the creatures that we know use it. There's several photographs that we have and have documented with the town of significant, especially for the relatively small size of the vernal pool, significant populations of wood frogs and spotted salamanders. And by effectively boxing it in, some of that development that's boxing it in, which is located within jurisdictional areas under the Dighton Conservation Commission, would effectively diminish the capacity of this vernal pool to serve as a vernal pool. Going on to section 6, as stated by the applicant, discusses ways in which the commission can either deny a permit or determine non-compliance with the bylaw for factors including failure to avoid or prevent unacceptable, significant, or cumulative impacts upon the resource area values protected by this bylaw, as well as for failure to site the project in an alternative manner with less impact where such siting is clearly possible. On all of that, really, all that I think Beta has to say is that nowhere in the documentation provided by the applicant was an alternatives analysis included. We understand that alternatives may have been discussed through older proceedings, obviously very relevant proceedings that are documented in the town's records, such as the planning board in the early 2000s, but no alternatives framed with review under the bylaw have been provided as part of this, either ways to increase the area to be left untouched around the vernal pool, or to provide connectivity to other portions of the site. I understand that this is a conservation subdivision and that there is a significant amount of area being conserved, but these are many of these areas are fragmented, and many of which are completely outside of the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission and would not have really any bearing on what we're trying to convey about the Commission's ability to protect this vernal pool. So that's where we really have left the vernal pool issue, is that these alternatives of either avoiding or minimizing potential impacts to the vernal pool, should the Commission find that this would in fact constitute an alteration of the vernal pool, has not been provided. The other two I guess, big picture issues that remain are related to stormwater.
Before you move on to
Yeah.
stormwater, I just, so our bylaw in setbacks requires a 25-foot no-touch undisturbed vegetated buffer, right, around wetlands. And then isolated wetlands and vernal pools are afforded the same distances and setbacks, so 100 feet. But the actual definition in section 9 of a vernal pool includes 100 feet of upland. So our interpretation has been 225 feet. I just
Lisa,
want to make that
The
clear.
vernal pool is 100 feet from the median high water.
Right,
We now have an additional 100 feet of jurisdiction.
yes,
So that means 100 feet from, 25 feet from that 100 foot is no touch.
yes,
And then, but we still got an additional 75
Correct.
jurisdictional.
That's correct.
right.
Now, you
I
had
just
something
wanted to
about
make it
225.
clear that it's 220, the 100 foot is the actual vernal pool, because the vernal pool is
Right. And then
100
we got
feet off
100
the mean
feet.
annual high water,
Then we
because
got
they
100
rely on uplands,
Then we got 100 feet
Yeah.
of jurisdiction beyond
Correct.
that.
yeah,
So,
and 25 feet is the no disturbed.
no, the 25 feet
Is within the 100 foot. Okay, so it's 200. But in this case, they're not looking at the bylaw because it was designed prior to the bylaw, correct?
Correct. So they have provided some, slight revisions to this area to provide some more forested areas in prior revisions. They have shown that 100-foot offset from the mean high water to set the actual vernal pool boundary per the bylaw, and then they have showed setbacks off of that. But the point that we were getting at in our letter is that much of the development that effectively boxes this vernal pool in, or at least a portion of it, is located within 100 feet of the bylaw definition of vernal pool, which is the 100 feet off the mean
The
high
actual
water.
vernal pool itself, right? Because they rely on uplands.
Right,
Correct.
exactly. As well as the 100-foot offset from the vernal pool, which the commission considers the vernal pool boundary.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, when I was looking at the map, it showed 100 feet from the high water as the vernal pool. So if our jurisdiction is now 100 feet, but of that 100 feet, 25 is no touch. When I was looking at that, when I was looking at that here, this is now the vernal pool,
Yeah,
Correct.
but this is the no-touch zone.
correct.
That's correct.
Our jurisdiction goes out to
100.
roughly here.
Correct.
But,
That 100.
but this is the no-touch zone, here. And that's what I'm looking at right now, the no-touch zone. And then, okay, now, excuse me, Jason,
Yep.
is this a septic tank?
No, this is on sewer, that's a roof drain infiltrator.
A what?
Roof drain infiltrator.
Stormwater for the
Oh,
roofs.
Okay.
Roofs.
So going into some of on that note, stormwater issues is, as I discussed before, some of the issues like with the SWIP could be handled by the commission through special conditions. The primary two outstanding issues that we've identified has to do with the infiltration basins, both the measurement of the setbacks to the boundary of wetlands, and then the treatment of the runoff being discharged to outstanding resource waters at the site. So really, this all boils down to is the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook has a 50-foot setback requirement from infiltration basins to vegetated wetlands. It is silent, as the applicant has noted, on the method of this measurement. It's our understanding that although it hasn't been explicitly codified by Mass DEP, whether or not there's intention to, is that Mass DEP has used this in practice to provide the measurement from the actual toe of the slope that is used to construct the basin rather than the interior floor of the basin itself. In any case, this bleeds into the next comment because basins 6 and 7, which are located at the western extent of the site closest to Sunken Brook, are sited just outside of the Zone A associated with Sunken Brook, which is a protected, protection essentially of tributaries to watersheds. The Stormwater Handbook is fairly explicit under Standard 6, critical areas, of which a Zone A, outstanding resource water, is one, is that, and I quote, stormwater discharges to outstanding resource waters and special resource waters shall be removed and set back from the receiving water or wetland and receive the highest and best practical method of treatment. So regardless of the nuances of the method of measurement of basin setbacks, at the very least, basins 6 and 7 could be further analyzed by the applicant to see how much of a setback could be provided to that outstanding resource water, or that Zone A associated with Sunken Brook. That deals with the setback issue, but in addition, we also look at the treatment that's being provided to the water discharging to that outstanding resource water. Now, there's two things at play here. One is your water quality volume, which is what the basin can intake and effectively treat, what portion of a storm, and then total suspended solids removal, which is how much of the sediment grit it removes prior to discharging. The applicant has used the 1-inch water quality volume, which is the minimum for critical areas, and has provided 80% of the total suspended solids removal, which is a regulatory minimum. We note that the applicant has provided the minimum that is considered the standard, and the applicant in their comment seems to have felt that this was addressed. But what we wanted to note is that that is the minimum in terms of general construction. When you're dealing with these critical areas that these stormwater BMPs discharge to, again, it states that they are to be set back from the receiving water and receive the highest and best practical method of treatment. This goes back to, again, that, this design seems to be set in stone based on previous proceedings that the applicant has gone through and many years of back and forth with the town. But alternatives haven't been provided in terms of what could be done to meet that standard to a higher degree.
Okay, our bylaw says that there's to be no construction within 50 feet of any wetland. In the past, we've only dealt with houses, barns, sheds, and pools and the rest. Are these infiltration basins considered such structures that would be denied by our bylaw within the 50-foot no construction zone?
So that's a good question. So obviously you have the 25-foot no alteration zone, which the applicant has agreed to make some tweaks to adhere to, cleaning up the limits of clearing and such, keeping all activity outside of 25 feet. The 50-foot, is really at the discretion of the commission. I have seen some bylaws that explicitly use a no-build zone to talk about appurtenances to homes, dwellings, something you would traditionally think of as a structure. I've seen other municipalities extend that to outlet control structures of a basin or curbing or roadways. So that really is the commission's discretion on how they apply and interpret their bylaw. But I will say that portions of the slopes that support the basins are going to be graded out within that 50-foot buffer.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I heard you state that the stormwater requirement is to attain the highest level of treatment possible. Is that right? Now, I understand that the applicant has met the minimum, but have they provided any analysis to demonstrate that they've researched the highest level of solids removable possible?
No, I do think that, there's a chance, again, it hasn't been provided, so I can't speak for the applicant, but, there's a chance that some design revisions to the overall design may be required to accommodate additional treatment. Use of things like vegetated swales prior to discharge to basins or oil and grit separators. However, that either way, that has not been provided by the applicant. Any kind of analysis stating that anything more would be infeasible or inconsistent with the project purpose.
Okay, so it is the highest degree possible. It's not the highest degree possible or the minimum standard, is that right? So,
Correct. It's standard 6 dealing with critical areas is the highest degree practical, is what it states.
okay, and so we at this
Highest
time,
degree, but you said possible,
Practical.
practical.
so we at this time would be unaware if that analysis, if this is the highest degree possible or allowable, because no analysis has been done. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Well, those are the main points I just wanted to go over in our letter. I'm happy to answer any questions at the commission's request.
I have a question for Jason, maybe two. Could these infiltration basins be outside the 50-foot zone? Also, second question is we have the vernal pool, and I just pointed out that you are keeping 125 feet away from the high water. How would you protect even this area without it being destroyed within a couple of years by who knows?
Well, yes, so you're, kind of implying as people's yards, they get in there and they tend to.
Throw their
tend to
trash
migrate,
and,
absolutely. That's something we can easily contain with, I know we've done in the past, I think Dayton requires signs. We've done split rail fences in the past, we've done boulder limit of work walls, just to be a little more, something that they can't really undo by themselves. And all those methods have done great in preventing yards from migrating out.
okay.
Jason, I'll add to that, deed restrictions could also be utilized.
Correct, deed restrictions, so all future buyers
Sorry?
know. Deed restrictions, so all future buyers know, hey, there's a vernal pool area behind my house, so that I'm a part of its habitat. And it
That
needs,
doesn't always work because they don't read their deeds, so.
well, we can't, fix stupidity, but we can at least help them out.
But the benefit at that point is even if they didn't read their deed, they're still legally bound by it because they're on notice even if they didn't read it.
No, I realize that, but what I'm saying is, markers or fence, boulders, now they know. I'm not knocking the public, but,
Well, those things work.
we've run into it before, and they didn't realize, and that's what it was. It's,
But, these factors in conjunction with deed restriction, with the sign, with the fence,
Yeah.
all those things together is definitely gonna have a great
Okay.
effect on,
Now, okay, head off to my first question about all these structures underground within the 50-foot.
so the basin itself, there's just grading for the basin that's in the 50-foot buffer to the wetlands. The basin, the actual, where we've done the setback from is from the top of the inside berm. So the actual water levels of the water would be in a basin. These are infiltration basins, they don't hold water very long. But if you had a 100-year storm where you're getting your 8.5 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, that water would come up towards the top of the basin. And we took our 50-foot setback to make sure our basin is that far away from that elevation to the bordering vegetated wetlands, which is what we've done in the past on various other projects throughout southeastern Massachusetts. And I did want to reiterate, so it's kind of misleading to say that we're doing the bare minimum, because we need to design for a 1-inch water quality volume. So the water quality we're treating is for 1 inch of rainfall.
What is the time period of that 1 inch?
It's just a volume that you need to
So is
make
that
sure you're treated.
in a 24-hour period or 12-hour?
All the storms are treated in a 24-hour period, but that is not the minimum. The minimum's a half inch. So all your subdivisions have to treat a half inch of rainfall. You have to have a water quality volume for a half inch. That is increased to 1 inch when you're near critical areas, which this is. So we've done that increase. So the minimum's a half. We've already doubled it up to a 1 inch. So it's kind of misleading to say we're at the bare minimum when we're really not. Because we've done the increase because we're in the critical area.
Okay, I don't have any more questions. Anybody here?
Do you guys have any fertilization restrictions in these vernal pool areas, in the areas that?
We certainly could.
So the individual lots will come before us separately. This right
Correct.
now is for the,
Vernal pool,
yeah, this is for the subdivision, the roadway, the basins, the
that's right,
infrastructure.
that's right.
So any lot within 200 feet of the vernal pool will be before the commission with a site plan, which would have the specific grading. Obviously, it's got the roof drain infiltrators already on there.
Yeah.
And then in that order of conditions, we would definitely be conditioned in if we wanted fertilizer requirements or restrictions would be in that.
Anyone else here? Questions? Okay, are you finished or?
If you had any other questions.
Okay.
Jason, sorry, not Jason, Paul, you did have a question and you were hoping that maybe the engineer could answer that, whether they could do that. Your last question, you just asked everyone.
Oh, regarding the analysis on the
Yeah.
waterfalls, has there been any analysis done to see if that was the maximum amount attainable?
Well, that's why I went through, explained that the minimum's the half, and we've gone up to the 1 inch because that's what's required for the water, this sensitive area. So we're not doing the bare minimum, we're doing the extra that's required for the sensitive area. Obviously you could just take all your water and truck it away, but you gotta be practical in your approach and what we can do. So we've, suspended solids being removed, the extra water quality volume that you need to treat, is all taken into account.
Okay.
You
Okay.
have to open it up to the.
Yeah, I'm
public.
gonna open it up
It's
to
8
the,
o'clock.
to the audience. I want to say that any question must deal with wetlands, not traffic flows, not how it's noise or what it's going to do to your neighborhood. It has to be a wetland question, since this is the Conservation Commission. Okay, are there any questions from the
And
audience?
leave it 3 minutes.
Yes, 3 minutes.
So, yeah, the other thing was, and it can't be the same question, so if someone already asked the question, please refrain from asking it again, because we have a number of other items on the agenda tonight.
Anyone? Okay, I guess there's none.
You have a question?
Jason, do you have any recommendations or? Joshua, is it Joshua? Joshua?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I've been calling you Jason. You all set?
Probably been called worse, Jim, so don't
Yeah,
worry about it.
there is a Jason here, so you're generally saying something right. I think, Brian, did you have anything you wanted to add, or?
I mean, are there any more specific questions to the vernal pool? I mean, I think the chair did a good job describing the setbacks and everything. We can elaborate a little bit more if the commission needs any clarification there.
No, I don't think you can, from what's here.
And I think we're good on our end unless there's anything else you'd like from us right now.
I did have one more. Was there any exploration done around a migration corridor for the vernal pool?
No, for the reasons addressed previously, it would be well beyond the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission to create one. It's not in the standards anywhere. It's not reflected in the overall design, and in fact, the overall design contemplates donating approximately 80 acres of open space. We do meet the existing standards,
Okay.
however.
You said that conservation is 80 acres?
Open space,
About
was,
60%, I got that, and
sorry, I mean, I'll give you the number, I've got it here. 82.29 acres, 60% of all the land. 20% is the minimum, we're providing 3 times that, and 20 acres of that open space is wetlands.
So when you say open space, who's gonna be managing that? The homeowners?
We're not proposing it to be improved, we would deed it over to the Conservation Commission or restrict it in the deeds. I would say that
Would the open space within the subdivision itself, those little chunks of areas within it also be deeded over to conservation?
that would be the intention, because we have no intention of improving them. They're supposed to remain open space.
Yeah.
okay.
Brian, Jason, that's correct, that's the way we've designed it, right? I don't wanna I don't wanna speak out of turn, but that's our intention.
Okay. What is your thoughts for future or for any motion of any kind? Are we looking,
Given the amount of information that's been displayed in the years that this has spanned, it may be prudent, rather than holding the vote tonight, if you were amenable, if the hearing is going to be closed this evening, we would have 21 days to render a decision, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe could be done with a second special meeting within the 21 days, given the length of the agenda for this evening, if you felt that it would allow us more opportunity to discuss and deliberate.
okay, so you're saying close the hearing, but have a second special meeting to determine our decision and then to write the order of conditions.
I think that that would give us the most time to give this the due consideration and deliberation that all of the public hearing is provided, while also affording due time to the remainder of the agenda.
Okay, is that satisfactory with all? Okay, is there a motion that it would be to close the hearing, but to set aside a second date? And if you want to put that date in there, maybe we can even inform everyone what date it would have to be in early January, because we would have to close, issue an order of, make a decision, issue an order of conditions within 21 days from
Before
now.
January 9th
January 9th?
is our deadline.
Oh,
to
our
issue.
deadline, okay.
Lisa, I believe that you are gonna be out of office, one of these upcoming weeks?
Next week.
Next week, okay.
For the first of January,
Yeah, was it,
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday is the 2nd.
You probably shouldn't do it Monday, huh, the first.
I don't want to,
There'll be too many people around.
is January 3rd amendable? That's a Wednesday.
I have an obligation that night, would Tuesday?
No, we'd do it in the daytime.
Oh, yeah, certainly, not a problem.
Wednesday, maybe 3 o'clock on January 3rd?
let's do it.
It's good.
Okay,
No.
so make the motion and then we'll make the meeting, the special meeting, January 3rd at 3 PM.
Okay, would that be 2 follow-up motions, one to close the hearing?
Oh, you can
and then a
add
second?
it, well, okay, let's do it 2 then.
Okay, I'd like to propose a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I would like to propose a motion to hold a special meeting on Wednesday, January 3rd at 3 PM.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you for your
Happy
time.
holidays.
You as well, thank you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did everyone sign in?
Crickets happen, that is.
He keeps talking about the benefits of the town. Yeah, but, I mean, what about the streets to the infrastructure for the town?
So I was in the shower.
Yep.
I got into my mind and I thought, when you sit in this chair,
Brought it up under public comment.
Oh, but I thought you said only to deal with the vernal pool hours specifically. Yeah, I did.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Good. Thank you, Laura.
No, he did. He said specifically. Okay, it was my misinterpretation. Okay. That's all right.
That's what happens with a lot of.
Nothing. I just, any straw we can push.
So what I do is
On our jurisdiction, we can only consider on the basis of our.
It looks like my property on their map. And it's approximately my forest. It did, yeah. My husband had tomorrow. And it's 126. And
Good, thank you.
so that's why
Christopher Rebuilt as it is.
about chestnuts, because there is a chestnut. So does that that I know of, it's got a meeting on the so we were just okay, I never read that up, but approximately 100 are the
people suck at tape, I guess.
yes, they reuse
Somebody up there said they had a comment like yeses.
that's where these
Oh, yeah.
pieces are. I did give it to you.
For the next one too.
Double the pleasure
when
tonight.
those lots, if we get to
Okay,
the
let's
point where
see.
those lots are proposed, she knows where the nests are.
Okay.
I mean,
Something to
like I
look
said,
at.
it's one of the straws that we
And
punch,
she,
so.
she gave you copies, right? Should
Yeah.
I take
where's
those
Dave?
for the record, or do you want to?
Same-
I
same as
can
me.
email-
I
Why
can
don't you,
email them to you.
you can email me that whole thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
I'm on vacation next week, but if you send it, then we'll have it for the record.
And your email's on here.
Anything else really?
Yeah, I can get it from the town.
A lot of people are confused about what is and isn't.
Oh, by the door.
Yeah,
Want me to stick around for Maynard too? I can't.
Yeah.
I'll, afterwards,
He doesn't have to. He's
we'll
not
just,
Go see your
Thank
dog.
you.
Thank you.
okay.
We adopted a mini poodle, but we'll talk to you about dogs later.
Well, let's talk before.
No, okay. I'm waiting for Dave to, when Dave comes out.
You guys want to use it more than he does now.
Okay. I won't be in next week. But
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
try not to talk about anything.
We're all set?
right, let's
Okay, everyone back to order.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is Reed. Okay. Would discussions continue outside, please? Okay, our next on the agenda is Reed Brother Farms Limited Liability Partnership, file number 17447.
How you doing? Jason Youngquist from Outback Engineering. This is a project that's been before you for a long time, a couple of years. The original notice of intent was filed in October of 2021. And it pertained to tree cutting and work that had been done along an access path that goes out to the farm in the back of the property, but the path runs along the Segregated River. And in some work they'd done to kind of make that access path a little bit better. They cut down trees in the wetlands, not even the buffer zone, in the wetlands. There's invasive species growing in there. There's debris that was dumped in the wetlands, and then this wetland's right up against the river. So it was a lot of violations that were done, and so the notice of intent was filed to fix all those. There was wetland mitigation areas where we're going to plant. There's plantings. There's 4 areas where there's going to be plantings to replace vegetation that was cut down. It denotes all the areas where the debris and things that were piled in the wetlands and the outer riparian and inner riparian zone were piled, to get all those out. And to pretty much take care of everything, invasive species, take all those out, and clear up the whole site to get it back to the way it should be. So as I said, the original notice of intent was filed in October 2021. It was tabled over the last 2 years as they had to file with a number of other state and federal agencies. A MEPA application was filed in March of 2022. The project was reviewed by the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs, and it was determined the project does not require an environmental impact report. Major project certification application was filed with Mass DEP in April of 2022. A 401 water quality certification was issued in July of 2022. Unfortunately, that certificate expired in June of 2022. So it was resubmitted and approved again in 2023. The reason that had expired is because we were waiting for our permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It had been filed in August of 2022. And this was finally just approved on December 8th through the Army Corps of Engineers. So all the permits that were needed to restore everything back to the way it should be was finally done after a little over 2 years. So we were kind of hoping we could get an order of conditions. And if you want any plan changes, it's going to take a couple of years. So hopefully at this point, we're all set with the plan.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna have some conditions in there.
Absolutely,
About
yeah.
monitoring and
Yep.
all that, but this is pretty straightforward. You know, I'm sorry you had to go through all that, but it's because it's in an ORW.
Yes, and it's a sensitive area with the river running right through there, and there's things that have been done that shouldn't have been done, so.
and you learned so much.
We did, there was a lot of different processes, making some new contacts through the Army Corps of Engineers, so. Yes, very beneficial, gets you
Builds
that
character.
contact base we got to really build up, so.
Me too.
So I think what we've, there had been, I think, a couple little plan revisions along the way, so I think it's what everybody's looking for.
Okay, so we're looking for
To
a
close and
closure.
issue an order, so, I have 21 days. There's a vacation in the middle of it, you've been waiting for 2
Unacceptable.
years.
Unacceptable.
So there might be an extension request.
Sounds
I'm
good.
sorry.
Not a problem.
I might not have it by the 9th, but I will have it soon enough. You're probably not gonna do anything in.
Not now, not in the winter, so, just let us know what you need, send it over, and Greg will get it back to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to close hearing on Reed Brothers
And issue an order of
and
conditions.
issue an order of conditions.
Second.
Wait, hold off. Was there any questions from the public?
I don't think anybody remembers it after this one.
Okay, the seconded,
More like an ecological.
all in
restoration.
favor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
2 years.
Basically, Greg doesn't get to come in and celebrate?
Well, I was already coming anyways, so.
Okay, next is a continued hearing. It's an NRAD application by Dean Smith of New Leaf Dayton Energy Storage LLC on Maynard Lane, file number 17-476. Is anyone, okay.
Good evening. I'm Dean Smith from New Leaf Energy. We've been delayed on our end for other unrelated reasons. That's why we haven't been back before you for some time. This is a plan showing the reflagged wetlands on the site. Our consultants have also delineated the vernal pool areas down in the southernmost wetland area. They weren't able to verify it up in the northern part of the area because it was already past the season for it. And with the additional measures that the commission has jurisdiction over, if there's a vernal pool up there, I would ask for the commission's consideration to allow us to reevaluate that in the season, in the coming spring, when the time is appropriate to verify that. I'm not questioning Beta's review of the area. They did note egg masses and some species that of concern there. So we'd like to be absolutely certain of that. We'd like it to be the season where they could accurately delineate the bounds of the vernal pool. So I think that our consultants are in agreement with the initial comments from Beta. So I don't think there's any argument there.
I would like them presented for the record to the public and the commission though
Sure.
during this forum, okay?
Sure. Our consultant wasn't able to attend tonight.
Okay.
I'm a civil engineer, so I'm a little handicapped in addressing all of those in great detail. If Beta maybe could go through them and for the commission and the public. As I said, there's not really any great disagreement over it. And I think that what has been reflagged in the field is fairly consistent with Beta's observations. Also, delaying things until we can evaluate the vernal pool areas would give them an opportunity to go back out, refresh all the flagging, make sure that it's in place so that we can go out and survey the locations and show them accurately on a plan for you. Sorry, I don't mean to steal it. Thank you.
How's that?
Yes.
For the record, Laura Krause from Data Group. So we have not gone out and reviewed the additional or the updated information that has been provided by the applicant yet, but I'll just go over some of our comments. There were, as Dean pointed out, a couple of additional wetlands that we found when we went out into the field. There was a small one kind of in the north central portion of the site. We found, and based on what we were seeing in the field with this F series, we found, I believe it was a little bit bigger than what we were seeing out there. So we'll obviously go out and take a look at the, what was reflagged out there. But we found additional hydrology and vegetation that qualifies it as a wetland. There was additional wetland to the north of this B series, and there were also some flags that we saw in the field that didn't correspond with what were on the plans. So we were a little confused as to what exactly we were looking at in the field. That's why we really have to go back out there with the updated information. We also identified the vernal pool in the A series and found some additional wetlands up gradient of the limits of the flagged boundary, and we also requested, and again we haven't gone through in detail the responses, but requested calculations for the IVWs to ensure that they don't meet the definition of isolated land subject to flooding, because that also provides additional jurisdiction for the commission and under the Wetlands Protection Act. Kind of a summary of our review. Obviously, we still have to dig into the new materials. We did provide a request for an amendment because our original scope has been completed, even though we didn't use all of the funds because our review on site was limited because there were limited flags in the field to review.
Now, this is, where is the work going to take place?
This is an ANRAD application, so there's no work
Okay,
as
nothing-
we
okay,
know.
yeah.
It's not
Nothing
being
proposed. All right,
proposed.
so that will be determined after the, okay.
Correct. And we'll abide by all of your setbacks, the 50-foot no structure zone around the wetlands, the 25 no disturbance, the additional areas around the vernal pools when those have been established.
Okay.
So the development part of the project is going to be a very long-term thing. So we probably wouldn't be back in front of you for another year, possibly 2 years, to request a notice of intent and an actual order for some
Okay.
work on the property.
Okay, so when do you expect to have this portion, the NRAD, completed?
Well, the
Spring.
season would
Spring.
be in the spring,
So
yeah.
we can table it to a date certain, and then you won't have to re-notify the abutters.
That's
Okay.
perfectly fine.
What, till
Very
maybe
nice.
May
Just
or April?
We'll probably want to start looking in April is about the time, that's when you start seeing the overlap of both salamander and wood
Okay.
frog egg masses.
So
Okay.
like We meet the third Thursday
Right.
in April. You think that'll be enough time?
So,
Yeah, that would be agnostic by
I
then.
have one question. You guys are simply battery storage for a solar field?
Well, we're not discussing that tonight.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
This is just the NRAD.
okay, so we'll table it until the April meeting, which is the third Thursday.
Third Thursday of April? Okay. And I'll probably provide some additional supplemental information in that interim period
Okay.
for Beta and
It'll
Lisa.
be
to
April
review.
18th. You have to say it for the record.
Okay, I would need a motion to table until that time.
I'd like to propose a motion, is it table or continue?
Table.
Table.
I'd like to propose a motion to table the ANRAD application for New Leaf Dayton Energy Storage One LLC.
Oh, one more thing. Before you table it, we actually need more money for Beta.
Yeah, so we submitted a request for an amendment for an additional $2,000 to go back out there. And
Sorry.
We can make arrangements for that in the meantime.
So the first motion would be to accept the proposal from Beta. I
Correct.
propose a motion to accept the proposal from Beta for an additional $2,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and that's for the 53G, and now we can table until April 18.
I'd like to propose a motion to table the ANRAD application for New Leaf Energy Dayton Energy Storage One until April 18th, 2024.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Just one question about process. So I should send out notices for that April meeting then?
No.
No?
You don't have to, because
Beyond that.
we tabled it to the date
Okay.
of the meeting. If we didn't give a date of the meeting, then you would have, we would
Okay.
have required you to. Laura, do you want us to sign the proposal for you, so you don't have
no,
to wait?
I just need notice once you get the funding and then I'm good.
Okay.
It shouldn't take long.
Yeah.
We issue checks twice a week, so
Sure.
it should arrive. Well, it could be here during the week that you're off, but
Yeah.
certainly by the beginning of the
Well,
year.
our clerk will be in, so
Okay.
she's just in part-time, but yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a continued hearing on an NRAD application by RJR Properties, Old Horton Street, map 7, lots 36 and 36-1, file number SE 17475. Nova Environmental submitted a scope amendment for the peer review. Okay, anyone here representing them?
Have you heard anything from them, Lisa?
I did speak with Ecosystems, and he said he has not heard from his applicant at all.
There comes a time when if we don't hear anybody, we should just, reject the application. I don't know if we're willing to do that now or give them, they were always hearing that it's, wine time over there in Westport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
If
true.
they haven't requested a continuance and we haven't heard from them, if we were going to consider continuing, would it make sense to do so to date uncertain, given the fact that we haven't heard from them? They would have to re-notify the abutters, but if we continue them to a date certain, we really don't have any factual basis
It's
for
true.
believing that that is a date certain. Commissioner, have any thoughts?
It'll be wine season again.
It's coming up.
Okay, so what you'll do is notify them that if we don't hear, that they're gonna have to re-notify all the abutters. Okay, is there a motion to continue then?
Could you specify a time frame that he has to answer back?
If we don't hear, I mean, we're
We're gonna
we're
set
not
some time.
we're not continuing to the next meeting, though, we're continuing. We have to receive additional funds for our consultant to,
Okay.
we really wanted the money in the spring and the summer. It never came.
Okay.
After 2 years, if we Well, technically, within 10 days, if we hadn't received the monies, we could have denied the project, but we didn't. So the next thing is, under the Wetlands Protection Act, if it's been 2 years where you do not receive information you request, you can deny the project due to lack of response.
So he's already met those requirements.
The bylaw does state
He's
that,
passed those requirements.
yes,
Well past.
failure to fund within 10 days shall be cause for the commission
It shall
to-
be caused, but it doesn't say
Right.
it has to be 10 days
No,
or
you're right.
15
No,
or
you're
20.
right. You're right, but it,
But he's already met those requirements, so within everything,
so we
He's well
would be
past
within our jurisdiction to deny if the commission were to choose to.
We are looking for additional funds for,
But the problem with that is then it goes to DEP, so I would rather just keep it in our ballpark right now.
okay,
Cause the local, you know, we would deny under the local bylaw,
yep,
but we'd still have to look at it under for the state. So, I think at this point, just give them a little more time and.
okay. So should we just continue to the next meeting then, January?
Or just continue, because we don't know that they're gonna have the money in January, so we might just be going through this again and again, just continue, and then when they provide the money, then I'll tell them they have to re-notify the abutters.
If there are butters who are interested in attending a hearing, just one moment, Selectman Hull, sorry, sir. If there are butters who are interested in attending the hearings, it does not feel right to continue to a date certain when we do not know that they're going to be there, because it does feel unfair to butters who want to attend if we were to state in our meeting minutes and state in our meeting that we're continuing to a set date. So that was just my only thought, and Mr. Chairman, I believe that Selectman Hull has some input.
Okay,
Jim has,
Lenny?
Mr. Chairman, under rules of order, you do have the option of tabling it and not setting a date or a time for the
a
continuation.
little louder, please.
Under rules of order of a meeting, you do have the ability to table an item for an undetermined amount of time, rather than continuing and trying to figure out tonight with your long agenda when would be an appropriate time. So you could just table it and readdress it at another time when the parties are ready.
Okay, all right, so we'll make the motion then, someone to table the item and until we hear from them.
I propose a motion to table the notice of intent application for Robert J. Russell III at 0 Old Horton Street, map 7, lot 36.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, the next item is contingent upon the one we just tabled because, let's see, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry, I didn't,
Oh, I misphrased my motion, I apologize. I was on the next one already,
You,
sorry.
RJR property.
Those somehow got I don't know how they got switched around.
okay, well,
One was filed before the other, so I'm
Okay.
sorry about that.
okay, well, the one we just tabled then was by RJR Properties, Old Horton Street.
Should we rephrase
The motion?
It's the ANRAD, yeah.
Okay,
I would like to propose a motion to table the ANRAD application for RJR Properties, 0 Old Horton Street, map 7, lots 36 and 36-1.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, the next one is Robert J. Russell, Horton Street for construction of a single-family home. Okay, this is contingent upon the one above. Since that land has not been fully approved with the wetland delineation, I assume no one is here to represent this lot either. Okay, so we'll just table this one as well as the one above, and then we'll hold these two together. Because this one here is contingent upon the wetland being delineated. And that comes under the NRAD.
Motion to table notice of intent application by Robert J. Russell III on Old Horton Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Lisa, when that comes out, they will have to also notify abutters.
Right.
Okay, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation and NRAD from Carl Rebello, Bell Farm Estates, seeking confirmation of wetland resources at 0 Milk Street, map 17, lots 109, 135, 208, DEP file number SE 17 489. Money had been owed for the 53G account for quite some time, and today a check was received. We were not able to do anything at this moment on this since it was just received, what, this afternoon, Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have something you wanted to say on that?
Yes, so we just wanted to reaffirm on this one, that the minutes from the last meeting stated that Mr. Rebello attended the meeting and explained he had not funded the 53G account per the Weston and Sampson quote as request for peer review services in the amount of $8,880 because he had concerns about the cost of the proposal and needed to confer with other business associates regarding the quote. Mr. Rebello stated he was aware that failure to fund a 53G account within 10 days of a request for payment could result in denial under the local bylaw and would remit the funds required in the form of bank check on Monday, November 20th, 2023. Where now we are almost a month later, so.
Yeah, I wasn't here at the meeting to tell you I needed more time for the fund. It was mostly because I had questions about the quote being triple of what it was the previous time I had the delineation done. So, with all of that said, taking the information from the previous meeting, needing the time on my part to sit down with my associates and stuff, I just needed more time. But I did, this is a project that's only on hold because I needed to redo the wetland delineation. So it is a serious project. It is moving forward. The plans are set. After this approval, after this review and approval gets approved, we can reopen the subdivision stuff and start talking about that. So it is a serious, we are moving forward with it.
I understand that. My concern is that we were told at the meeting that we would receive the funds by the 20th of November. Where here we are, the 19th of December. And following on the tail of that, Bell Farms Estates has not paid property taxes in quite some time. There's some.
What's the balance? I'm sorry.
The total balance on none of these parcels, there have not been property taxes paid on any of these parcels since November 2022 was the last payment where these taxes were paid. We've got outstanding amounts of $4,944.19 of total outstanding taxes as of this afternoon. Now, under the local bylaw, Town of Dayton has adopted Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 57, regarding delinquent taxes and municipal charges, where any municipal charge, tax, lien, or fee which is unpaid for more than 12 months will automatically result in denial or revocation of license.
I can have those paid within the next 5 days. Fine.
Okay. That's not going to affect this, but it would affect going forward after this is done. As a matter of fact, right now, with the winter season here, I don't know the timeliness on when this is actually going to be accomplished. It might be a month, it might be 2 months. It's kind of tough. We don't know what the weather's.
As far as Western going out to the property and stuff.
Yeah. And so, but then you would fall, if that was not taken care of, you would fall under the 12-month.
Yeah, understandable.
No, we're just being informative, so that your project and with us can go forward.
Absolutely.
Right, so once we were to reach February 2nd, after February 2nd, if the taxes were still outstanding, we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
actually prohibited by law from issuing any permits or approvals at
Yeah,
that point.
okay. I think last time we paid it for the full year, so I'll
Yes. Yep,
have,
that's correct.
last time we paid it for the full year, and if, are those copies? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. I'll just take what you have and I'll get a check to you by next week, whatever.
okay, sure. Tell you what, since there is a per diem interest charge, would you like to call my office?
Yeah.
And then we can schedule your desired payoff date, and then I can give you interest that's good through your desired payoff date. That way there's no straggling pennies.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I was just here to, you know,
Okay.
just to
Okay, so Lisa, you will notify Weston and Sampson of the 53G account to,
Yeah, I'll do my best. Running out of time here this week, but,
okay, no, that's okay. It's winter time and nothing's gonna get done really until the beginning of, well, February anyway.
well, no, I mean, someone's gonna notify Weston and Sampson so they start their review. I'll send out an email.
Okay.
As soon as you tell me, it's a big check, so it's clear, right?
Yes, yep, the bank check.
All right,
You
I'll
gotta-
send out an
You
email.
gotta square that up first, or can they?
The bylaw requires it to be done prior to February 2nd. So as of February
Oh,
1st.
yeah. No, I just didn't wanna
Okay,
have Weston and Sampson down there, and then all of a sudden, what's this, and, you know.
no,
No, it's fine.
it's all
No,
set.
No, I mean, just interfere.
It's all
with that.
set.
Yeah.
Okay, check received. Okay, I guess you're all set for now.
thank you, appreciate it.
Is there a motion necessary?
No, he just handed in the money in that, so we just, that goes into 53G and Lisa will notify Weston and Sampson and then it will,
Start
then-
their review.
yeah, it'll start the process.
Sounds good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, notice of intent on 0 Elm Street, map 20, lots 84-4, for construction of a stormwater basin along with pavement and grading associated with the storage building. A portion of the work falls within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. DEP file number 17-491. Okay, David, you're gonna take over on this one, the rest of it?
Yep.
You want to sit here? Should have brought the cookies. I had expected our peer review consultant to be here, but I guess they're not. I don't see them.
Okay. I'm Tom Morris from Zenith Consulting Engineers.
Hey, Tom.
How you doing? So, last time I was before you, I just kind of generally described the project. Obviously, we hadn't had the review yet. Since then, we've had a review for planning board and for the NOI filing. All the stormwater comments that were in the NOI filing were exactly the same as what we had in planning board. They've all been addressed. We don't believe any of them are contentious, but we haven't gotten a clean bill of health from the reviewer. So just to kind of go over quickly what we're looking for. The highlighted line here is the wetland line, and the green line here is the 100-foot buffer. So we have grading associated with the stormwater basin that we're creating. We're cutting in a swale into the hill to catch all the runoff that's coming down and direct it around the site. And there's a portion of pavement.
Around the site, not into the basin,
Correct, it's not going to the basin.
and stopping what's coming down the hill, discharging it into the lower areas.
Yes.
So the flow is already going there, it's not new flow. Just directing it away from the development. So all the stormwater, we believe, has been taken care of. But again, I don't know if we want to wait for them to come back and say that they're all set with the changes that we've made. One of the biggest things, I guess they said, as far as you're concerned in the jurisdiction of the wetland, is they were wondering if the pavement could be moved outside of the 100-foot. The reason we have the parking spaces here is to be efficient with the site and limit the limit of work. In the limit of work was one thing that they noted we kept nice and tight. They said we were doing the minimum on the site to provide safe access and grading. So if these spaces were to go anywhere else, it would require more grading, more clearing. Whether or not it's, even if it was moved outside of this area, we'd still have to do all this grading for the swale and for the basin. So the limit of work near the wetland over here wouldn't change. It would just be the fact that the pavement is outside of it if we were to move those. But additionally, this wetland, which is associated with that portion of the 100-foot, is uphill from the site. And it's kind of odd to say that, but the site slopes severely from south to north. So this is upgrading and actually, if anything, would drain toward the site, come into the swale and go around. So we believe there's no detrimental impact to having the pavement here, because none of that, even regardless of any stormwater mitigation that we've done, this water could not get there. No runoff could get there, and erosion could get there from the design that we've done.
Do you think discharging all of that water down the hill onto that side would change anything on the lower side?
No, we've made sure to limit the rate of runoff to the pre-development state so that it's not going to affect it. I guess, are there any other questions?
You have any other questions, Lisa?
Well, I just expected our consultant to be here, so, you know, I'm not sure why they're not. In their scope, they had, attendance of the meeting, so. I emailed them, I haven't heard back, but,
Without that, I don't think we should make any decisions.
yeah.
So we continue this to the next meeting?
Yeah.
All right, can I hear a motion to continue to next meeting?
I would like to propose a motion to continue the notice of intent for 0 Elm Street until January, what's the date of our next meeting, Lisa?
Next meeting, January 18th.
January 18th, 2024.
Thank you.
Was there a second?
Yeah, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Mr. Digits.
Next
moving
on the agenda is a continued hearing from Ahmed Hafez of Grasshopper Energy, 0 Brook Street, Dayton. Work includes clearing 28 trees within the 25 to 100-foot buffer zone to jurisdictional wetlands. File number 17-492. Anyone here representing them? Okay, do we have a to continue at,
Do we continue or do we table? This is the same issue
Same thing.
almost, I mean,
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, but we've already continued it now, what, 2 or 3 times?
3.
This will be the third?
And we do, I believe we've got some abutters here to that property who have been
But we cannot,
dedicatedly. Right, we can't hear or discuss the matter, but given that there are abutters here who have consistently come, I do feel that it would be fair that they be notified when the hearing is actually going to occur. So would it be prudent to continue to a date uncertain to assure that the abutters are notified?
And they don't keep showing up,
Right,
yes.
right.
For nothing, yes. Yep.
okay,
Same deal.
I'd like to propose a motion to continue. It's an NOI, Lisa?
This is an NOI, correct?
To continue the NOI for Grasshopper Energy at 0 Brook Street to date uncertain.
So moved.
and abutters be re-notified.
And abutters be re-notified.
Okay, David?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye. Have a good holiday, folks.
Thank you.
In the event that the televised audience is wondering why we're playing musical chairs here, it's because we are disqualifying ourselves on certain applicants because we either know them too well or we have had some kind of business dealings, or family members have. So we are disqualifying ourselves to make sure that there is no conflict of interest. Okay, notice of intent, 1886 County Street, from Truck and Trades LLC for construction of a stormwater basin within a flood zone, land subject to flooding, DEP file number 17 dash, do you have the new number there, Lisa?
Did you get a file number?
I don't have it on me.
I can look to see if I see one while we're gone, but go for it. Present.
Okay. Tom Morris, Zenith Consulting Engineers again. So the site was formerly a restaurant. Currently, it's being used as auto and machinery auction space, essentially outside storage for the auction. The entire site is gravel or pavement. There's an existing septic system in the ground over on this side, behind the gas station. All around the site, there are a couple buildings on the left-hand side here. All around the back is all gravel storage area. There's an access road here and here. So what we are proposing is a office/showroom for the auction yard to sit essentially where the old restaurant was, and on top of existing impervious area. And to go along,
That's where they filled in, where the old restaurant was, right next to the gas station, right behind it?
behind it,
It
yes.
used to be Daddy-O's, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It was there for about a year, that was.
So it was, I believe it was built up the same as it is now when the restaurant was there. The grade hasn't changed. So that there is a retaining wall along the property line here, and actually along the whole gas station side as well. So what we're proposing is the building, essentially where the restaurant was, and the stormwater control that we're proposing is down at the bottom of the retaining wall on the abutting parcel, but it's under common ownership. And what they're gonna do is create a Form A to include a portion of this site and add it to this, so that the stormwater control and the structure are on the same property. So we will be removing gravel area and creating an infiltration basin, which will be loamed and seeded, other than a sand bottom for the basin for easy maintenance and proper functionality. So this basin construction is within the flood zone, and that's why we're in front of you. It's an AE zone. Elevation is 14, goes right along this blue line.
Is it coastal or inland?
It's coastal.
Okay.
It's storm flowage.
Well, it's tidal.
Tidal, yes.
Yeah, oh, I went by there yesterday and that water was right up to the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so being tidal, there's diminished requirements for what you need to meet as far as stormwater goes, and then we're also a redevelopment. We're actually going to be reducing impervious area because we're getting rid of this gravel, creating the basin. But we've done what we could. We're directing the new roof area to this basin, and then a small portion of the existing site, the way it's graded, will fall into it.
Small portion?
Yeah, small portion. So the back side, kind of like off the corner of the building, there's a drainage boundary that'll be something like that. So just this section of the pavement will fall into the basin. The rest of it will stay as it is.
Where does the rest of that water go?
It kind of sheds in all directions. So everything from this corner all the way around to a little entrance here, that all comes into this access drive, back and down all the way across the yard, and then to the wetland system that's associated with the flood zone. The portion up here on the street comes right into the street. This all flows kind of over toward the wall and goes over the wall, and then again toward the wetland system. So what we're providing here is storage and recharge of a portion of the site. Part of the reason, so what we're required to do is to the maximum extent practicable. And that's always such a gray area. So it's hard to justify either way, really. But given the septic system here, it is a very large, expensive system. If the grading were to be changed here, it would require a new system, which would be extremely expensive. So we believe it's impractical to control this portion of the site. Similar to the front, in this side, there's existing infrastructure around this area that would make it very difficult and expensive to control. And like I said again, we're not increasing any runoff in any direction because we're putting impervious on impervious.
Okay.
And adding new stormwater controls where, excuse me, none previously existed.
Okay, now, we don't have the file number, correct, Lisa?
We have the file number. It's 017-0493. And we provide that because if anyone in the audience ever wants to look this up through DEP or make a complaint, they have the file number and not just the address. Okay. Yeah, in general, on any project.
Well, all your addresses are zero anyway, it's hard to find them. That's why the number works, right? File number?
Well, the address is not zero on this. This is
1886.
1886.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, a lot of them are zero.
Correct, yeah, because it's vacant land. So if you want my opinion, it's that we should follow what the planning board is doing and send this out to Weston and Sampson to review it. It's engineering. I don't review engineering.
Okay, so, we'd open up a 53G account in the file number in their name. Okay, so we would have to, continue this and get a pricing from Weston and Sampson, and then to forward it to you. So that would put you to the January meeting, and then after that, they would, after monies are given, then they would go out and review.
Yep.
Okay.
So, just as far as looking forward on when you're gonna be continuing this to, I would probably not do it to the next meeting, given the length of time it took them to respond to Elm Street, give their comments. I would
Okay,
probably push it
all right.
out 2 meetings.
Okay, if,
February?
okay, but if we get a price from them, then we would be able to give it to you next month, the pricing,
That has to be approved in the meeting.
you know? Does it,
Not necessarily. We don't have to do it that way. Yeah. We can email it and have it be approved. I mean, as long as you guys, say right now, you could say you would approve a proposal up to $10,000, that would cover it, I'm sure.
Could we authorize the chairman to approve the, just to approve it on our behalf?
I would think so, yeah.
is that okay with you? Since we have no idea what it's going
Yeah,
to
and obviously they're your review engineer, there's really no option, so.
Yeah, town peer review. Okay, so we can do it that way then, that we'll do a peer review, we'll get we can now approve up to a certain amount, and then I can just, if that's, why would that even be necessary to review or to approve up to a certain amount? If they just hand it in and then we send it to them,
Well, do you wanna just have them vote to approve whatever estimate that comes in? That's fine.
well, what are we gonna do? We're gonna fight with them?
I know.
We're not gonna fight with Sampson and Weston and say, you're too low, no.
Yeah, he hands it, yeah.
Okay, so, what we're gonna have to do then is to continue the hearing. If we do it till next month and nothing gets done, you can just call in and say, continue it until February.
Sure.
And that way we'll keep it, on the record, and we can go from there. And if the pricing comes in 2 weeks, Lisa can forward the amount, to you. And then maybe they can get out there, and by the time you do come in, it will all be done,
Yep,
maybe.
that would be nice.
Okay, yes, it would be.
Yep,
But we're working with this new firm as well.
yep, understood.
Okay, what I'm looking for then is a motion to continue, but also prior to that, a motion to set up a 53G account. And then the motion to continue.
I would like to propose, oh, sorry.
Okay,
And the date, you need the date of the meeting?
yeah, well, the next date is January 18.
If we do it till
So
February.
we'd continue it, but we can do the 53G account first. Yes, I think we have to, you have a question?
Yes, my husband and I are abutters to this
State the
property.
name, your name, sorry, your name.
Irene Alley and Jeff Alley of 1928 County Street.
Yeah.
Now, as abutters, would we have to come back to another meeting?
Well, you can, if you have something to
State
say
your
now
concerns.
or whatever, you may.
Discuss anything you want right now.
We have no concerns with this, because
Oh.
if this is going where the restaurant was, there was an existing building
Yeah.
there.
Yes, I don't know.
Yeah, the work that's gonna be done is also in the basin. No, you don't have to come back. If you're set with it, you don't have to come back anymore.
No, I know what the restaurant was, because I was fire chief at the time that restaurant was built.
Okay,
Okay, that land has been raised.
yeah,
People in the town probably don't know, that was an airport at one time.
Yes.
Like,
and a golf course and a par three and,
Raised there. And the foundation, I don't know if the foundation is still in the ground or not.
It could be.
All right, they did put a foundation, and they didn't have a problem. I know they had some pump in the basement, I don't know if it was used per se. But that land has always been dry, since they raised it all, there's never been a problem.
Right,
In fact,
that's not
if anyone
actually
knows,
concern.
Hurricane Carol in 1954, no water ever reached that area. And Hurricane Carol had a 26-foot above high tide level. Somebody do your homework, you can figure it out. So that whole area, includes my house, no water ever reached it. It was surrounded by water, but never reached it, so.
okay.
Okay.
The only
Okay.
wetland I know now would be the far corner of that property.
I just want to clarify, so the reason they're before us is because a flood zone, even if it doesn't flood, it is mapped as a flood zone, falls within our jurisdiction.
That's the US government doing that.
It falls within our jurisdiction, so that's one of the resources that falls within our jurisdiction.
Okay, you call it a flood zone, but there's no flood.
Well, in order for that to be changed, that takes a lot of
Yeah, right.
engineers to go through those.
Oh, politics.
It takes 22 politicians turning a light bulb.
There you go, pal. Get that right.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, let's see, a motion to set up a 53G.
I would like to propose a motion to authorize Chairman Jim Digits to accept on behalf of the commission the proposal from Wesson and Sampson for the notice of intent at 1886 County Street and to establish a 53G account pursuant thereto.
So moved.
Okay, now, a motion to
Was there
continue.
a vote on that?
You gonna vote?
Oh, sure. Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I would like to propose a motion to continue the notice of intent for 1886 County Street until, we say January or February?
February.
I think we're gonna do the January, is what we were saying, right? And then
Yeah,
if
then
it-
you can, then you
and we'll
can
give
just
you the
call in
notice
and
as soon
say,
as possible.
I wish to continue.
Right.
Until January 18th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
You too, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, here we have a request for a certificate of compliance for a single-family house, 449 Brook Street, map 17, lot 160-1, the file number 17-451.
So this one's being put on hold. This COC is being put on hold until next month. I went out to do an inspection and they had some areas that were exposed. So they threw down some winter rye and some straw. However, when I went back there this morning, I was surprised to see a whole bunch of people with orange vests on digging next to the wetland under the power line, and I said, what's going on? And they told me they were from Public Archaeological Lab working for National Grid, and I said,
They've been there for a month. They've been exhuming sites. I passed them going in the woods.
oh, yeah, they've been going along. So, as it turns out, the commission previously approved as part of that power line, some borings. The builder had no idea that there were gonna be new poles there. The engineer had no idea there were gonna be new poles. And it's in an area of flood compensation that they've proposed to us on the as-built. So I said, wait a second, we need to figure out what's going on. So they agreed to put it on hold.
The house is up?
The house is up. the new owner doesn't necessarily know that they have wetlands and that they're responsible for anyone working in the area of the wetlands, but now I think they'll know, so.
Okay,
We're gonna hold off on approving it till next
Okay.
month.
I'd like to
And
propose,
they've agreed to letting us hold, they agree that they wanna
okay.
fix this issue
So
with
we
National
really don't
Grid.
have to do anything to
Yeah.
continue? It's just gonna be.
Don't
it'll
have to
just-
do anything, it'll just be
Yeah,
on the
okay.
agenda next month.
sounds good?
Okay, request for a certificate of compliance for after-the-fact filling for a lean-to structure and corrective action plan for restoration of wetlands at 2050 Horton Street, map 7, lot 26-2, file number 17-486.
That's, yep, 2050 Horton Street.
Okay, I know that I've been out there in the past, you've been out there many times, Lisa, and everything is looking good?
Yeah, so in this, because the existing conditions plan showed the lean-to structure and it showed the posts, I went out to do an inspection, and in fact, the posts are all up with the placards, and also the field in the back that Mr. Burma was told to leave as is, he has left it to reestablish. He is here if you have any questions for him. I have 2 copies of the certificate of compliance. If you want to sign them both, he can take one with him to record.
Okay, I don't have any questions, because, I've been out there, I've seen, I don't know if anyone else has questions.
Oh, I've been out there. I saw his,
Anyone in the
Dodge
audience?
Power Wagon.
No, I haven't been out there, but I've heard it discussed extensively at our previous meetings, so no, if you're both satisfied, works for me.
Okay, then what we need then is a motion to issue a certificate of compliance.
I'd like to propose a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 2050 Horton Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, pass it down. We got 2 of them. Thank you.
Okay, while we're signing this,
Yeah, you get one.
due to problems in East Providence and Providence with the bridge, want to make it known that the conservation agent may be selecting different hours to operate on. It's taking 2 hours each way for her to go.
The morning's not as bad, but it's doubled my commute.
And just want to make people, aware that we are living with those conditions of East Providence, and we are trying to make things amenable to Lisa, so that she doesn't go nuts with her part-time job here. So if you call the office and leave a message, she will get it, and she will respond.
So, yeah, so a couple of things. Voice messages go right to my emails, so I get them when I check my emails. So if I'm working from home, I would still get those voice messages. I do have a work cell phone now, and that's available. And Maureen is in the office. She's either in my office or the sewer department office 4 days a week. So, that should help, but I will be here at least 2 days a week. It's just, I'm not gonna be here.
Longer hours or
Yeah.
something,
Yes.
and I know Lisa puts in her time, because I get calls on Saturdays and Sundays, and
And your wife's cursing me.
and what?
Nothing.
Okay, is there another one there, or is that?
Nope, that should be 2 of them.
That's
One's right there.
Oh, here it is, okay. Here's the other one.
Yeah, we got 2 right. Thank you, guys.
So is this something, Mr. Chairman, that you would like to see just approved until the next meeting?
No,
Or
I
we
think
can
it's
discuss
just,
it
I
on
think
a
it's
month-by-month
just,
basis?
a general notification, letting people know that, the hour schedule, I mean, if they call, she'll get back to them. I mean, even if she's here, she might not get the call directly because she's in the field or whatever, but I know Lisa does quite a bit of work from home, and she's putting in longer hours here. So we're just trying to make it less gruesome, the drive.
Sounds great.
Okay, bills payable, review bills payable since last month. Lisa, you have, do you want me to read them out?
Yeah, that would be good, and then we have a couple of, few payrolls since then too, but, yeah, that would be good if you could read them.
All right, I got this one package here, it's, okay, it's a Gay and Gay law firm for 100, and also for 240. Is there a motion made to pay those, that's a total of $340? Is there a motion to pay Gay and Gay $340?
Motion to pay Gay and Gay $340.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Would it be permissible to read the bills in their entirety and then just approve them as one block?
Lisa, there's a couple pages here, I don't know how many I have to sign.
Well, have they all been signed already, or no?
Well, they're signed by, I can't read it.
Let me see.
Oh, that's me.
Okay, so Lois says Maureen just doesn't wait for the meeting, she just brings them upstairs, so.
Okay,
But I wanted an excuse to.
okay, so, does it need a signature here? Okay, and this page,
I don't think they do.
nothing there. Okay. And Onice and Latimer, $80. Oh, Constable, okay. That's just one $80 bill?
Well, they should be listed out on the top sheet.
Yeah, that's just one.
Yep, that one looks like just one.
Okay, motion to pay, Moniz and Latimer Constable. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Seconded? Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, we have another one, for the same, Moniz and Latimer for $160. Motion to pay $160 to Moniz and Latimer.
All in favor? So moved.
Is there a second?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, could I also, just since we don't have the departmental payroll cover sheets, just blanketly also state that I would like to propose a motion to approve all departmental payroll, which has not been approved since our last meeting?
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I send that over to Lisa. Okay, next on the agenda is 2371 County Street. It was an enforcement order. It was given 4/1/21. The site was visited, let's see, it's stamped over, it's April of '22. Board of Selectmen sent letter to DEP, and, Mike Mullen on 4/26/23 and on 7/17/23, warning letter sent on August 22, 2023, requesting a satisfactory plan. Daily fines began September 22nd at $300 per day, issued weekly. Weekly fines are still being issued. Owner emailed us on 11/24, wants to speak at a meeting, and Okay, you have printed some aerial photographs, you said, Lisa?
Yeah, I just have to dig through this.
Yes, Attorney.
John Mitchell for Marcinus, who's here with me.
Good evening.
How are you?
Found it. Finding the needle in a haystack in there. Too many papers.
Okay. And, what's, November? Okay, it's 17. This is 23.
Because you were not at the site visit, so,
September 2015. Okay, all right, this is the most recent here. And that was, okay, that's not what we saw. We saw variations of it. That was March 23. We were there, was it last week, Lisa?
Last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday.
Yeah.
all right, so if you just slide this way, you'll see the photos I took, and everybody's welcome to see them.
Okay, I'll pass it over there.
We were there.
Yeah, I know, okay. Yeah, I'll do a few, because I was there. I know what's,
Yeah, that's
That's
the front
all.
yard coming in from the street, that's what they're
yeah.
over there.
Okay, let's see.
I think that's the one you were on. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's go back here. Okay, so this is the back of the house here, and that's,
Yep, that's the driveway, that's the
Yep.
side yard.
that's, you can see it's washed out. That's beyond the embankment. That's all new, all new, all new, okay. If you, do you want to see him again, go through it? No. Okay, I'll pass that over. Okay, Attorney Mitchell?
Just, I wasn't at the site visit. I've had a report from Mr. Enos, and I believe most of the board was there, correct, that day?
Correct.
And we're just asking, I mean, the biggest concern, he has about $27,000 in fines, which clearly he can't afford. And we're asking that to be reconsidered. Also that, I don't know what the board's impression of the fill. This originally started over 2 years ago because there was some type of complaint, from what we understand, we believe by a neighbor who has done his own fill there, about the type of fill being put in there. And at the time, Mr. Enos came before this board and explained that he had been injured, had back surgery, was out for about a year, and someone who had been filling there wasn't being as careful as they were when he was on his feet. My understanding is that's been cleaned up, and we're asking that it be accepted the way it is. And Mr. Enos will pledge that he's not going to undertake any more fills, certainly without an order of conditions from this board.
Okay, since the enforcement order has been issued, more fill was put in there. I really didn't see cleaning, except that fill was put over it, which included brick parcels, stone parcels, and gravel.
You saying more grading of the?
Grading in the back.
Driveway?
Grading in the back. A lot was blamed on water from the street. There is approximately a 6-inch berm at the edge of 138, which I went by even during the rain of the other day, and the water was flowing down the street, not into his property. The water that's there causing those grooves in the picture that's on the north side of the building is actually caused by his parking lot.
The water comes into the parking lot. Yeah.
I did not see water going from the street to the parking lot.
Well, just in
What I
that,
saw was water running down the parking lot, but not from the street. There's a berm about so high.
yeah, no, I'm familiar with the property, I've been out there.
So whether the water comes in from the parking lot here, there, or anywhere.
That's incidental.
The back of that hole is the lowest lying.
And the state engineer is agreed that is a poor design in the front, that's state property, it's all facing into my property, the water runs in off of that. She's agreed, she's got me on the agenda for the spring, they're gonna re-rip that whole front up, they're gonna put grass in the front there, and leave 2 driveways open.
So that might
And they're gonna-
mitigate some of the water, but you're still the lowest lying area.
Yeah.
Any type of fill over that hill, you're just, it can't happen. There's no way to avoid being the lowest. It's-
Right, and the pavement does not help, any of the pavement, the road or the driveway, any of that doesn't help the
You see
issue.
the washout, that's quite.
And I have tons of empathy.
Yeah.
For that, tons. 'cause
Yeah,
that's
and
not fair
that's
to
gonna
you,
need to get
and that needs
stabilized.
to get straightened out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do, I've been trying to do that for 2
But
years.
filling the hole is what we're here, because you're. in
I'm
the
not gonna
wetland.
fill any more in the hole.
In the order of conditions, there was I'm gonna say a requirement, Lisa, was it a requirement to hire
Yeah.
an engineer who could have solved your problem
Again.
by making a detention basin for the water
You expect me to hire an
go in?
engineer the way it was explained to me, to hire an engineer
But you put
to
more
explain.
fill in. You didn't.
Listen to me, can I say something? To hire an engineer to tell me how to go dig that out, when you're not gonna go after anybody else that, on that railroad bed, from Pleasant Street, from Center Street, all the way down to Hart Street, that's filled in over the years.
Did you see all these people with filling?
We
Some were
know
done
a
probably
lot of
40
people
years
have filled.
ago.
We know a lot of people have filled.
I
I can see people have filled right from my property.
Why didn't you report them?
Well, it wasn't up to me to report this. I mind my own business. I mind my own business in this town. I mean,
we're getting off track, just, I mean, we
let's keep
came
going to court if you
here,
want it.
You have the problem now. You're filling wetlands. You are causing.
Wetlands created by water runoff, by people who have built up higher than me. The water's running off of their property. It's running in off the street. The property below me, south of me, is blocked up because 2 people filled in completely and didn't put a drain in. Nobody's doing nothing about that.
I have began to look into the other properties.
yeah, but meantime, my client's getting hit with considerable fines. We went out in good faith in April of last year, of '22, met with the state and were told we were going to hear from the state or the state through the town. Instead, my client came back, he spent a good amount of time last year in Portugal, came back and found out he already had 3 weeks of fines. They were sent to his almost 80-year-old sister who just completely ignores this.
Mr. Mitchell.
I understand, but not by my client. It was signed by someone else who just doesn't address this problem. So he comes in, he's already $6,300 down, and it's been there ever since. We just think it's certainly a heck of a way to treat a citizen, Vietnam veteran citizen, who's tried to work with this. And in fairness, I represented him at the site visit by DEP and before this board, and I was waiting to hear from DEP or hear something about it. I'm assuming DEP never did anything,
We did get a response this week.
which I've never received.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, there's a certain unfairness in that we cooperated, waited to hear, and instead we get hit with a series of tickets
Well, that's
that
the
are
state now.
considerable.
Okay, first of all, you brought up the Vietnam veteran. We thank Mr. Enos for his service. But that does not relieve him from following the wetland laws. He was informed with an enforcement order what he had to do, and he didn't do it. And that would be to hire someone to correct the situation as they could. And I'm sure it would have included a detention basin. It might have been to put a berm in the back so nothing else would flow in the back. But all that brush and rubbish that was.
Gone. It was rubber, it was the rubbish, it was brush on top. That's gone. That's gone.
What was your opinion of all that stuff in there? You guys, Jason and David?
It was a mix of compost, debris, sticks,
Yeah.
Concrete.
some rubble.
Concrete?
Mostly concrete and brick and stone in there. Before I put the top stuff.
You were under enforcement order. You weren't supposed to do any of that
I
until
was,
a
at one of the
plan
meetings,
came
we,
by
at one of
and
the
it was
meetings,
approved.
I agreed at one of the meetings, in front of the other three boards that were involved, that I would clean up that mess and cap it with something decent. Didn't I agree that on a meeting? And actually, your town administrator read it in one of the reports, that I agreed to clean that up and cap it. He read it, right at that special meeting I had with the town
Did
administrator.
you give to this board a plan from an engineer or a certified wetland scientist on getting that done?
What?
Like you were supposed to?
What, to dig it up and put it back before I started
That's
filling
not
it
what
in?
he's saying.
No,
A
no.
You
plan.
have to get.
Whether or not you got an engineer and he did it.
You would get a
But-
plan to do it properly. And when we went back last week, we saw that you would put more fill in. And
I
was it
capped
to
it.
hide what was there? Was it to increase your backyard? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was not, that was not approved.
Increased property I've been
by the
paying,
commission
my
to
family's
do
been
that.
paying taxes on since the sixties that we haven't been able to utilize. Because it's a hole in the ground.
Well, it was there before you were there. You bought the land evidently.
Back in the
Was it
sixties,
there?
yeah. My father bought the land back in the sixties. My family's been in this town over about 90 years. And my relatives were here before we were here. The DeMellos and the Mendozas. Listen, I plan on retiring and staying here until I die, maybe another 15, 20 years. You made it impossible. I want to get out of this town.
What's the board looking for? Because
It was in the enforcement order. The board is looking
It's
for.
up there. You want to see
I have the enforcement order. Okay, I was not at the site visit. I understood there was going to be some attempt to resolve this. If not,
That enforcement order said what would resolve
this
it.
enforcement order, you pick on one person along that whole bed when everyone is filled in, up and down it. And this board knows that. Everyone is filled.
You singled
This
me out.
guy's been
It wasn't
singled out.
wetlands.
A lot
It
of
wasn't
people have filled
wetlands then.
the,
It was-
the
Wetlands can be
majority was not
created.
wetlands.
Well, this has certainly been created.
Are we,
Newer laws and newer stuff.
Some of that was
Gets
done
recorded
30, 40
differently.
years.
I don't know. I just know everyone's filled and he's stuck here, including a neighbor who reported him across the way who filled recently.
and who
could
filled
have
part
been
of my
enforced
property in? He
against.
filled part of my property
Well,
in.
why didn't you notify
Until I
us?
stopped him. When I stopped, when I found out he was charging everybody to dump in there. That's when I stopped him. Mr. Pavo told me.
So, anyway, if we can't work it out tonight,
It's gonna be in court. We've already filed. We just haven't served the town.
When did they start getting sent out?
And the way it was explained at the town meeting, this could cost the town a lot of money.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry.
Because everybody's gonna have to be tested.
Excuse me, sir, if you leave for Portugal,
Yeah.
do you own multiple pieces of property?
No,
Just that one piece of property?
yeah.
So do you have any other important mail that comes to that property?
he didn't live there at the time. He
I
had
didn't live
another
at the time.
address.
I had a house in Fairhaven. I sold it. And then I had my daughter's mailing address. But stuff was going to my sister's first, then to my daughter's mailing address. I never received one of these personally. These were all given to me secondhand. I was getting when I was in Portugal. I was started getting these when I was living in Portugal.
The issue of notice isn't whether or not he got it in hand. The issue of notice is,
That is an important part.
It's part of it, but
When
part,
and if he could have acknowledged it and said, hey, shit, I gotta fuck, excuse my language, then he should have come back and said, hey, I got a problem here, I gotta maybe work on this.
we were in touch
Or
with
what
the,
is the problem?
we were in touch with the town immediately, but the problem on the notice is there was a meeting with the
John wasn't even
estate.
getting notified. My lawyer wasn't getting notified.
There was a meeting with the state, and it was an expectation we were going to hear from the state, which we never did. Instead, we get tickets, and
So
I don't know where they
So-
issued from.
So the town, we, as a commission,
Prior to-
we had this on our agenda. We asked Mr. Mullen to please reach out to the state. He did. There was a new chief, there's a new Gary who retired, who went out to the site. The woman under him quit. Finally, I was able to get through to DEP and they sent over a letter. You can actually have this, but it's addressed to me and the town administrator. It was sent on Monday, December 18th. Good afternoon. The department performed an on-site inspection at the location referenced below on April 27, 2022, and observed potential wetland violations. Hopefully, the Conservation Commission is able to come to an agreement with the property owner at their next meeting. An expeditious resolution to this matter might be best accomplished through the property owner working closely with the Conservation Commission. If you need further guidance or support, please let me know. And in a verbal conversation, and this was signed by Whitney McLeese, however, in a verbal conversation with her superior, she told me that they have so many large issues right now, basically they're understaffed. That was the excuse I got. So you know, and so we know, this is
So
this
there
is
is
it.
some
They're passing it over to
potential
us.
empathy to be given due to circumstances out of everyone's hands for an absorbent amount of time that had passed.
Yeah, but
And
as,
the handling from state
Right.
back to us. Do we have any timeline
we have a timeline in that. There's a
Yeah,
whole timeline.
It dates,
I don't know, I thought I sent you guys. the
what is it? Yeah, it dates
timeline.
to,
Right here.
yeah, it dates to,
Mr.
where is
I
it?
have,
Mr. Copy of the-
yeah, I have it here.
21,
Well,
415,
it's in the
21.
agenda.
Maureen sent it over here.
Yeah, it's in the agenda.
So Attorney Mitchell, your request this evening, if I am correct, I just want to make sure that I understand, is specifically we're addressing the fines. That was,
Certainly that. I mean, it's a heavy burden for someone at any age. Retired at 73. Like I said, he co-owns it with his sister who's older and
No, she doesn't own it anymore. I own it.
who doesn't really have much interest in this, isn't intimidated by it. So yeah, that would be the overriding thing is, I mean,
But the first thing that we had asked for was
yes, and he hasn't done it. There's no question of that.
a restoration plan. So,
Also because we met out here anticipating what the state might do.
right.
We just find out they ruled this Monday,
Their
the day
preference is
before
to
this
work it out.
meeting.
but
And
we
it's
were still
obviously
the
the town
issuing
administrator.
authority that you had to abide by what we said. And a plan was not devised. Additional fill has been put in, which is now washing down into the wetlands and covering in. And,
Okay, but let's, and I mean, I understand the rule and the law, but the wetlands are a still body of water in a riverbed. So, I mean, I understand the commission has the right to enforce that, but there's degrees of invasive activity. That water is not running into the Segregansett or the Taunton River.
It is running into the Taunton River.
It's sitting in the railroad bed and then evaporating. It'll be wet this time of year. You go out there in July and you could have a baseball
You've
game.
been out there in
it.
July?
I've been out there probably every season of the year.
It
and
dries
we're out
up.
there-
It's intermittent, however, it's connected.
It's a railroad bed.
It's
that water
connected
drains into.
through the catch basin to the Taunton River, and Mr. Ferry can confirm that if you'd like him to.
no, I've seen it flowing.
Yeah,
Out, now, that's Hot Street,
yep, down.
flows out along Hot
Because there's a
Street.
brook there. There's a brook down on Hot Street.
And that water flows into that and down into the Taunton River.
And this guy's water doesn't flow down that far. It doesn't go from his property all the way down to Hot Street. It sits, it's still There's no flow there, there's no current. Again, I understand the commission has jurisdiction, we're not here to fight about this. We came expecting after the site visit, there might be some way to resolve this. Yes, our big concern is the fines. I mean, the family can't afford them.
I don't know how the rest of the commission feels. I would be amenable to discussing the fines, but it would, from my perspective, that would have to be subsequent to receipt of a satisfactory restoration plan per the initial order, enforcement order.
It's been 2 years since this
I
went out.
understand.
We want a plan from someone, and that hasn't been done. That's the first thing that's
A
needed.
restoration plan to do what?
So it's, a plan can be as simple as some grass seed down to stop the erosion, silt sock, something to stop it, hold it in place,
And then removal.
and then removal of contaminated stuff, maybe some of the trash that's at the bottom of the hill. I don't know if there was a piece of a boat it looked like at the bottom corner.
For me to remove all that stuff would cost a fortune.
Who put it there? You put it there.
Over the years,
It's a
it's
tough
been
place.
put over the
It's a tough
years
place.
there. Listen, for me to remove that stuff, you're gonna have to get everybody else to remove it. And that's gonna cost the town a fortune. If you wanna go that route, we can go that route.
That's not necessarily the truth, so Phil carries on with the
You're definitely
owner.
gonna have to get the people above me to fill in. They filled up higher than me.
But wait, they didn't
He was lower than me.
They didn't, do you know they filled a wetland though? Cause
If you're calling my land wet, and his land had to be
your
wetter than
land,
that.
your
I'm
land
good.
has vernal pool species in it. I mean, it's
I don't know.
obligate.
Listen, I thought we were gonna resolve this thing, but we're not.
I think that there is an opportunity to come to a resolution. I don't think choosing not to enforce the act that we, that's not just a matter of having the right to, we have a requirement to, we have a responsibility to uphold the local bylaw.
Like you said, this has been going on for almost 2 years, right? We're up 2 years. I've had an attorney here for almost 2 years. Why wasn't he being notified about these when I was over in Portugal?
It was
Who
getting
you were in
signed
Portugal?
for.
He did?
It was all getting signed for. Why would we
Oh,
think?
but when you have an attorney represent you, aren't you supposed to notify the attorney?
I actually did. I spoke with Mr. Mitchell on the phone.
5 weeks into the fines though, so.
It was a while into this.
I mean, I didn't get any notice.
I didn't get any
Fines were
notices.
coming.
I didn't know this was going
And,
on until my sister started saying, hey, you're getting these notices. You want me to open them up? You know?
Well.
So you're looking for the engineering report?
We're back to the original enforcement order.
Yeah.
A restoration plan shall be filed with the issuing authority on or before June 1st, 2021.
Well,
You haven't done that.
Again.
You have been kicking this around.
Like the building inspector made a
You have
statement.
been
Like the
denying
building
that-
inspector made a statement.
You have been denying this is your
The
property.
building inspector made a statement at the site. There's no way that's gonna get dug out. Because then you're gonna have everybody else dig it out. It's not gonna happen.
We don't have a plan. Maybe someone can come up and devise a system whereby it could be amenable to us.
Just
Well, you haven't done
entertain
that.
and
2
try to
years.
call and make a plan.
I didn't need an engineer to tell me how to clean up a mess that I didn't put there.
But that's not, what they're saying is,
What?
they're not looking to just clean up the mess, it's to prevent future runoff. And an
And
engineer
if there's
can help with
contaminants there, we would want the contaminants out.
that. Yeah.
Contaminants. Years ago, everybody dumped their oil on the ground and everything else. Of course, way down there.
Well, it's not years ago, sir. I'm sorry about that.
My father.
That was when I was born. It was a long time
That's been a
ago.
dump area since the 40s.
There was a lot of bad things.
1975 was the last, if they did it after that.
Since the 40s, you've been trespassing, because it's only been a matter of a few years that the railroad sold that property.
60s.
No.
No, yes,
No.
my father's
No.
on the
The
property.
tenants just went through.
My father just owned the property since the
They just
60s.
went through. It's only been within the last
All right,
12 years. that
now
the
we're into
railroad-
real
That's what the
estate
deeds tell
titles,
me.
so. I will speak
Okay.
with my client about getting an engineering report, and we'll report back.
I do think
Okay.
that there is.
I think we need to file in court.
Well, we already have, so
Oh,
that's
you
not
need to
gonna
have,
be-
she
we
needs to
have
get
serve
served.
it. Yeah. we'll
She needs
serve
to
it.
get served.
Per DEP, where DEP's preference is that we work things out locally.
I
do
wanna-
think
I
that
wanna
there's
go to
an
court.
option to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's a dialogue that I'd like to continue to
have. What I
Listen,
want to do
I'm leaving-
is
I'm-
continue to fine you until we get a report. And then we can decide, once you get your engineer to do
You know what I
what
can
we
tell you,
asked
Ian?
for
You know-
2.5 years ago.
You know what I can tell you to do with that fucking report?
All right, Russ, calm down. Let's go. All right, we got the message.
Why, what are you gonna do?
Russ, it's a public meeting. Let's knock it off.
But say it, you're on TV. You can.
I don't give a
tell
fuck if
it-
I'm on TV or not.
Russ.
It sounds like
All
you're
right.
threatening me.
I'm a 100% disabled vet. You're messing with the wrong guy.
Let's, we'll report back.
Thank you.
Okay? And I'll stay in touch with Lisa on it. And we'll go from there. So, we did appeal the fines, so we've got to serve those, I think, in January. So you will be served on
And
that.
I'm willing to say, after we get
No, I understand.
the
Engineering
an
report.
engineering, once he gets that and they're working on it, I'm willing to say, we will suspend fining at that time.
Just so the board knows, we're not just doing it, you have to file it within a time period, and then once your appeal is to Superior Court, and they have a limit on when you have to serve it by rules, so we'll have to serve it in early
And
January.
the court knows I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in Portugal. I'm not gonna be back until maybe May, and the court said they would work with me on that.
Mr. Enos, I'm amenable to having a discussion around the fines.
Yeah.
But we still we need to come up with a plan to prevent future issues and, come up with a restoration.
She's looking for me to dig it out.
Okay, but we'll work
Well,
on
the
the plan.
specifics of the restoration plan, I'd say at a future time, the specifics of the restoration plan can guide what that will look like. And I'm at least amenable to having a discussion around the fines. We appreciate your service. We want to treat you with compassion and respect, but we also do have responsibilities to the Wetland Protection Act.
You know
and
what I was
local
gonna do? I
bylaw.
was gonna go picket. Town hall.
So,
We'll be back, I'll stay in touch with Lisa. You can send me that letter.
I just did.
All right.
I'm not in next week.
Yeah, no, I know, no one's in next week, so we'll,
I guess I picked a
but
good
you
week.
sent me the letter, right?
I just did.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Lisa. Thank you for your time.
Have a good
Thanks.
evening.
Take care.
I don't know. I don't know. They were out there. I just let the chief know. All right,
Okay.
so next.
All right, I'll make the motion that we continue the fines, but give monthly notifications
Yeah.
until we get a restoration plan. This is 2.5 years ago that he was ordered to do this, and he failed to do it.
If you don't want to serve them, if it's easier, just send them to my office.
Send them to you?
Yeah, because it's costing me $80 every week, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Just send them to my office.
That's kind of.
Charge you 40.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Tell them you charge you 40.
Wait a minute, I think you
Hey,
understand what
give
we're
him a
trying to,
whoopee
we want
pie.
a plan.
I got the message.
And I would like to note.
Thank you,
that
John.
if the runoff
Maureen
is
will be in
still
next week, by the way.
To acknowledge that on the plan, that it might impact the plan. If it's still running down that hill at a rate that can't be controlled.
But he's on the top of the hill.
He's
and
the top of the, well, there is gonna be runoff, and if he keeps getting washed out, I will have empathy for him that it's
Okay.
the stage issue washing out his plan that was put in place that might compromise him trying to be good.
But most of the runoff water is from his own parking lot.
Yeah, you gotta take a look in a rainstorm.
Okay.
There's
So
a
then
li-
that has to be noted then.
Yeah,
Right.
it.
That's why we wanted a survey, we
That-
wanted an
That
engineering.
berm controls most of the, because you figure only half the highway is going on his side, and so it has to rain awfully hard in order to get over that 6-inch berm.
Can we just clarify, are we going to monthly constable? Or are we going to just send them directly to Mr. Mitchell's office?
Is regular mail okay, or?
Just email them, however she wants to deal with it.
All right.
Yeah, you don't have to serve them, it's not worth $80 every time.
We'll email them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on here. We have 10:35. We are all set with that, that we're going to continue fines. They're going to be emailed to Attorney Mitchell. Okay, Lisa, I see
Got it.
something.
I'm writing it down. Okay.
Okay, no, I guess not.
Okay, so can we skip down to Zero Williams, to take this out of order? We have, Proline Engineering and, Jennifer and, what's your first name? Sean Barrows here. Same
Oh,
thing.
they're loving this.
Okay, so Bob, come on up, and, this is gonna be a breeze from here on out.
Okay, we're going to take it out of order. 0 William Street.
Motion to take 0 William Street out of order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're on.
Okay.
Okay, Bob Barrowby, Proline Engineering, representing Jennifer and Sean, who are in the audience. They're the owners of the property. We were hired on this particular property. When they first got onto the property, they cleared the land. In doing so, they went into the buffer zones and then partially into the wetlands. So our plan that we prepared was a topographic survey of the entire site from William Street back to the limits of clearance on their land. I have that shown on the plan. I'm not sure if the board has seen any of the plans. Have you seen them? I know we're working with Lisa, but I can give you copies if you want to
Yeah,
look at it.
I've gotta get them out. Alright. Sorry, it's just a big mess in here. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Oh, you know, Bob, you never sent hard copies of that final, so. See, I can't keep track. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bob, I assume this is to build a house up front on William Street.
Yeah, so this is William Street.
Yep.
Land is generally flat in the front.
Yeah,
It's
I've been
like a
there.
Contour. And then when the contours are closer together, it drops right
Now,
off.
what should I do?
The
So
limits
they
of
cut down
disturbance-
here?
They cut, this is the limits of disturbance, this line here. So this is, when,
There's a lot of cutting.
yeah, I've got the total of disturbance in the wetland, 8,245 square feet. We've also got a disturbance in the 25-foot no-touch zone, which is right here. This is the wetland flag right here, of 4,820 square feet.
So now how much up here has been cut?
Well, this has been pretty much all cleared, but this is the 100.
Wait, by them or by someone else in the past?
Farmland. This was all like farm.
Okay, all right, okay.
So at the top of the buffer zone, the 100-foot buffer is right here, so that's like conservation jurisdiction
Yeah.
from the hill down.
Yeah,
So
So-
all the work they're gonna propose for their new house, their septic, their driveway is all here outside the 100-foot buffer. But they do
have to do
install
restoration.
septic. So Chris Capone, the wetlands went out here, hung the flags, located the flags, located the limits of disturbance. He prepared the restoration plan. From
He,
that,
who's he?
Chris Capone. He's been on the Wetlands Conservation
Okay.
Commission for many, many years.
Okay.
And lives in Somerset. So he prepared the restoration report. From his report to replace the plans in his instruction on our plan.
Okay.
He also came up with a different, upland species, transitional species, sweet pepper bush to be planted inside the 25-foot no-touch zone.
Okay.
And he went over all that with
Okay.
Lisa, and I believe she agreed to it.
Can this even be just let grow back
The rest
naturally?
of it, I think that's what they all agreed to.
If this is that steep, they can't use it.
No, everything they're proposing here, we're proposing stopping everything well outside the
I mean,
100 foot.
this is 200, 224 feet here?
Yeah, yeah, to an angle of 40.
My
So
goodness.
it's-
Wait till they get older and want to mow that.
350,000 square feet.
Is that you?
Yep, yep.
This is fun.
That's like a 3 beer
So
more.
on the map, it shows that the wetlands don't start until 400 feet out.
Yeah, because they've got a few acres up here, they got 2 or 3 acres up here yet. Okay, all right.
They plan for everything here, all the proposed grading, the house, everything.
Okay. Okay,
So this is just for the restoration plan this evening?
yeah. We're all set with the restoration plan?
Yeah, it's in good shape.
Okay, so we continue this until it's done and then
You
give...
don't need to continue anything, but, they're going to implement the plan, with the notes. And then, so Jen, as long as you guys understand what the notes all say, it's pretty straightforward. Just keep me in the loop with everything with photos and you gotta get the placards from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Make sure
Bob,
you
I'll
get the
give you
right
this back
species.
because
I think
if
Lisa
I have
wants
any
it,
more...
so
if I-
I wanted 3 copies.
Understood, thank you.
Here you go, Lee.
Jim, can we go in recess because the chief sent someone over to talk to you for a couple minutes?
Talk to me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Go in recess.
okay.
Let's
We're gonna take is he coming right now?
He's here.
Oh, okay.
10 minutes.
10-minute recess.
I'd like to propose a 10-minute recess to adjourn at 10:02 PM.
Second.
You as well.
Yeah, you too.
Is that an all in favor?
See ya.
All in favor?
Okay. Lisa, was there someone else out of order that we wanted to take?
Let's take, Mr.
485.
Somebody go bump him and wake
Okay,
him
we're
up.
gonna take 485 Tremont Street out of order. Is there a motion to take it out of order?
Motion to take 485 Tremont Street out of order.
Second.
Finished
All in favor?
Aye.
How you doing?
How you doing, Mr. Elves?
Had fun tonight watching this.
I sure did. Learned a lot.
A lot of what not.
Yeah, exactly. So since the last meeting, the mitigation that was proposed was to put up posts and placards on the eastern side of the property, abutting the neighboring property, and also on the southern property where the berm is, where the limit of work was completed. That's been done. I sent pictures and to Lisa.
Yes, so the placards are all in place. They look good to me. Jason and I did a site visit and, Jason had some comments. I know, we
The only thing
talked.
that I noticed was the berms built up around the trees
Yeah.
will eventually kill the trees. It creates rot around the collar rot.
On the eastern side.
Yeah, anywhere you got berm built up against a tree, you can rot out the tree there. It's just
Yeah.
not designed to have dirt above the root flare.
Yeah.
Just peel it away a little bit
So
and
that way it come around the front of
I
it.
just peel away from the collar of the tree.
Okay.
And Lisa had one other recommendation.
The red mulch.
Oh, the red mulch, that's what it was. The red mulch has dyes in it that aren't good for the environment.
Yeah.
Refrain from the wet mulch, the red mulch out back. If you're gonna do mulch, try to do natural.
Okay. So just go leave what's I can leave what's there, and if I was gonna do anything else,
Don't apply anymore.
Yeah, don't add to it.
just natural, not just all
Yeah,
natural.
natural.
Okay.
The other thing was that one little area we thought where it was kind of, maybe you went into the woods and cut a little bit. It's like just,
was on
north
the
of the
east side?
beaches. Yeah, on the east side, north of the beaches. Did you cut into the trees a little there?
No, whatever was falling already. I might have moved some stuff that had fallen over there, but trees had fallen originally. That's why I
Okay.
started doing the work.
Okay.
But there's a lot that was on the eastern and the southern. If you take a walk, there's a bunch of
So, yeah.
dead trees that are already down.
Right, so when your yard starts establishing again, you're gonna plant all grass, right? Or you're gonna plant some,
Yeah, just grade
just
the seed.
grass? Okay.
Yep.
So when you take those mulch piles out Cause eventually we'd like you to take those out, cause they are.
So go over it, leave it there, just don't put any more, just go natural, or take it
No,
out?
they changed the grades, so like, you're gonna have more ponding now because there's no sheet flow, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So once you establish a lawn, I'm sick of sitting, sorry. You can take those out and then it can start to it'll regrow in those areas. Right now, nothing's gonna grow through it. You know what I mean? So
So you prefer grass there as opposed to mulch?
So you're saying establish the grass and then remove the berm?
establish the grass, remove the berm, don't dig down because you want that root mass. Let the roots come, whatever's in there, grow back naturally, right?
So while he has I mean, that's gonna be a tough thing to remove that berm without damaging brand-new fresh grass. You're gonna have to bring a piece of equipment to the edge of that area, or, I mean, that's gonna be a tall order, and he's gonna have to be working at that edge.
Well, you can remove,
Gonna be more susceptible to runoff as well if I remove the berm at that time.
Well, we need the water to move.
Yeah.
yeah.
We can't have you trap the water,
Yeah.
which is what the berm is doing now. You could see we could see your yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have fish swimming back there.
Yeah.
So I think what you could do is, remove most of the berm.
Right when you're ready to go.
Yep.
Move the berm.
Remove most of the berm and then leave just enough that you just rake out when you're done seeding, right?
So the berm, where exactly, on what side of the property? Because it
The
goes
whole
around the entire
thing.
property.
Yeah.
What's the berm made out of?
Mulch.
Compost. Could you rake it into the ground and use it as
Yeah,
just,
if you spread that
Yeah,
out.
spread it out.
Okay.
even if you just backbladed it and
Spread it out into your, not in the woods.
just use it as a base for your compost and sprinkle loam on top. I don't know what's in the berm. What on the
This-
top look like.
It's
Yeah,
all
just
wood
compost.
chips?
It's all wood chips.
Well, yeah, use it as your base. It'll be a good base compost. Sprinkle
All right,
loam
so I
on
can
top.
do that before I grade then. So if
Right
the
when
berm
you're
not
ready to
being
go
there.
with the grass.
Yeah, okay.
Grade it out.
Yeah, it'll be the spring at this point.
It'll grow through, yeah.
Yep. It'll be a good base.
Yeah, and that's it.
So does that
Just
resolve
stay
everything?
out.
That resolve everything then?
Yep.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't know about the other guys.
No.
I mean, I saw the placards, you know where your lines are, and you know not to go past them. Get your grass in, make it look nice.
Now, now you said that on the southern side, I'm still like 180 feet away, so I'm from the back where the back berm is. I'm still like 80 feet away, aren't I?
Yeah, but you're only 30 on the on the east.
Yeah, but like on
Yeah.
the southern side, I'm still quite about 80 feet away.
Yep.
Yeah, on the other side, I'm right at the 25 feet. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Mr.
Yeah.
Ellis.
Thanks for coming.
Happy holidays.
Holidays.
Okay, 1035 William Street.
Sorry, one second. We haven't heard, there's no update on that at all.
You supposed to close this one out?
So we were supposed to receive a restoration
Are
plan
we
by,
supposed to close this guy out?
485.
45?
I mean, it's not a
Okay.
hearing.
Yeah, these are
No.
station
There was no
updates, right?
filing.
We're not gonna close anything out anyway, or like, it'll stay on there in the
I'm just
spring.
learning, so.
I wanna look at it again to make sure it's coming back and everything.
Okay, nothing yet, nothing heard on 1035.
No, but he had until December 26th to submit an approvable restoration plan.
That ain't happening.
When, you got 1026.
That's when it was issued,
Oh, okay.
and then we just did 0.
Yeah, we did 0.
So 1420, next, 1420.
1420 William Street.
Correct. So I did receive a text from Mr. Arujo since the last meeting. He said the consultant, which is NRS, is waiting on information from the manufacturer of the irrigation system that he's planning to put in. He's making progress on that, but he is moving on that, and we expect some sort of resolution soon.
Okay, Oak Street, 1033 Oak Street.
Okay, yeah, actually, he was planning on coming to the meeting, and I'm not really sure why he's not here, but here's the The update is, I can go into my email and see why he's not here. Hold on 1 second. I believe I finally secured a company to give me a proposal for my project. It is W Engineering out of Taunton. He said he will send me the paperwork by this Thursday. As soon as I get it, I will forward it over. I just wanted to keep you in the loop. Thank you. So that was sent over in response to Maureen sending him the agenda.
That's good. Acknowledge it.
Yep.
Okay, so, and Morris Lane with, that she's just waiting for,
Yeah.
okay.
No update. We're waiting on natural heritage.
Okay,
They have bigger fish to fry.
2097 Wheeler Street,
No new update besides the wetlands have been flagged and he knows to file a new notice of intent for that.
okay.
We do have a couple of other matters under correspondence, or one under correspondence, and I don't know if we have any public input. Who wants to go first?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Public input?
Thanks for being honest.
Under correspondence.
Well, you're under correspondence, but we do have public input in here too, so it doesn't really matter. Does anyone have any public input? Nancy? Want to talk about Clearway real quick?
Okay.
I mean, is it Clearway? No. Tremont Street? Is that what we want to talk about? I'm tired.
There was a serious breach during the big rainstorm of the stormwater management program at Brook and, not Brook, too late. It's too late tonight. Tremont Middle Streets.
Yeah.
And Lisa was on top of it. They didn't really, I'll say, spring into action. I do get copies of the correspondence, and I did notify the woman that we're dealing with from the stormwater committee position. There should have been a better response, that it should have been prepared for that stormwater event. I mean, we all knew it was coming, we knew it was gonna be bad. There was nobody around that could have done anything at the time.
Was this the latest storm or the one a week ago?
No,
Yesterday,
Sunday
yeah.
into Monday.
Well, both. They don't know about the other one. There was
Yeah,
there was
there
also
one on the 11th.
yeah.
So anyhow, I did send her an email. I'll just get it and read it to you, easiest way to do it.
That's
Yeah.
a flowing right down the drain.
So that went across the street and down into Sunken Brook.
Yeah, wherever that culvert goes.
It went
Sunken Brook.
both across the street and east, down Tremont Street and down into the
Sunken
the
Brook,
stream that goes alongside the landfill.
Sunken Brook.
Is it? Okay, got it.
So what I noticed and documented was most of it was going down at 6:52 in the morning. Most of it was going down the basin, in the
Yeah,
drain.
and going across the street.
Right, yeah, ran over the basin.
But the previous storm, we noticed staining going across the street.
So, as I said, we all knew that storm was coming, and there should have been somebody who monitored it, at least visited the site periodically, and if it were starting to go, do something. I mean, we had the same problem at Brook Street a number of times. So anyhow, because I had seen the emails, and quite frankly, I didn't like the responses that they sent to Lisa. I thought they were putting her off. So I sent an email to this person, Alexandra Morrison, who is the environmental compliance manager for that project. So this is the email I sent this afternoon. Alexandra, I've been following the communications between you and Lisa Caledonia regarding the very serious failure of the silt fence that occurred at the solar farms located on Tremont and Mill Streets in Dayton, Mass. You need to be aware that the Dayton Stormwater Committee is very concerned that there was no one on the local scene who could respond to take immediate action to reduce, redirect, or otherwise do something about the flow of muddy stormwater that was evidenced in the photos that were sent to me.
I urge you to take action and talk with a person or persons who are responsible for maintaining the stormwater controls at the site until the land is stabilized and those controls are in place and maintained during the lifetime of this project. No immediate response to the violations that occurred is not acceptable. Both federal laws, the Wetlands Protection Act and the Clean Water Act, were severely violated, and now there's a mess to clean up to get the silt out of the wetlands. The Stormwater Committee works with the Conservation Commission. We expect a plan to be drafted and put in place to ensure that runoff is controlled and the wetlands will be protected during the worst rainstorms such as we just experienced. Continued violations will result in the shutdown of the project until such time as a workable solution is found. The Stormwater Committee and the Conservation Commission, working together, have shut down solar farm construction in the past for stormwater and wetland violations. Thank you for copying me on the communications. I have added the names of the Stormwater Committee to the list who will receive this email. And it's signed Nancy Goulat, Chairman, Dayton Stormwater Committee. She did write back, "Hi Nancy, apologies if I wasn't clear earlier. I do want to give you an update on the work that was completed last week." She's talking about the storm on the 11th. "And today ensure you that a prompt response is being taken. We have been working with our civil contractor, Bates Construction, our SWIP monitor, Fuss and O'Neill, and our engineer of record, Field Engineering, to evaluate this issue and come up with a plan to limit any future sedimentation events. Please see below for details for the response that was taken last week and today." Again, my point was not so much what they've done. That's past. I'm more concerned about what they didn't do. And when there was the storm on the 11th that they knew they had to do something about to straighten it out, with that monsoon that was predicted and that hit us Sunday into Monday, there should have been somebody monitoring the site. We had this problem at Brook Street to the point of, we don't care how hard it's raining, we expect somebody to be there, because if you have to get somebody to pump those basins, this was Brook Street, you're gonna do it, because if they overflow, we got another mess. But anyhow, I just wanted them to know from a stormwater perspective, we're working with Concom, and the kind of response that she got is not acceptable, just not acceptable. So I think we're on a path now, because now they've been told the ultimate thing that they don't want to deal with is a shutdown. So, and it's not a threat. We know it happened before because of what happened at Clearway. Just a couple of quick updates quickly. The Brook Street report from Weston and Sampson will be sent out with the stormwater agenda. We had a special stormwater meeting on the 27th. It's limited to 30 minutes simply because there's really nothing for the Stormwater Committee to discuss in detail, but it will go out to Ahmed Hafez. If he wishes to zoom in or call in and has any questions, that's fine. If not, the report's out and we'll be waiting to find out what Grasshopper is going to do at Brook Street. We'll be finalizing the outline for the work that we want Weston and Sampson to do, engineering review, final of the stormwater system up there. We will be looking for Weston and Sampson to do a review of Tremont and Middle Streets, especially since this breach that happened. We've had a request for a pilot agreement for the solar farm way down William Street that was the pig farm.
What is a pilot agreement?
That's a tax agreement, tax payment plan. Payment in lieu of taxes. The reason I mentioned this to you is that solar farm was constructed before we had a stormwater committee. Back in the day, it was the planning board that was responsible for enforcing stormwater. We don't know anything about that farm, so we are going to request a review by Weston and Sampson to make sure that the stormwater system, the drainage system, whatever is out there, was constructed and is working according to the original plans that were approved. This is the solar farm that took us to court and they lost. We just want to make sure, before we get into any kind of further dealings, that whatever is out there is not going to go back to haunt us from a stormwater perspective down the road. I don't know if there's any kind of bonds or anything for maintenance, but we'll look into this a little deeper, and Lisa will know about that, so.
Nancy?
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to Middle Street.
Okay.
When that was farmed, all that butternut, I don't ever recall mud flowing down from, and the land was completely open then.
They caught it all, Jim.
So why can't these people catch it all?
Well, what happened, there was never a berm there like they dug a retention area, they fabbed it and stoned it, and then they put their berm on top of it. So they kinda shot themselves in the foot, but they went over there after the 2 storms ago, and they cut a hole through the berm. And they put riprap there, but, you know, there's too much water, it's too open, and it all caught down at the
The low end of
silt fence.
the low end of the farm.
Yeah, well, it came down through there, Nancy, because they covered their retention area with a berm.
When we had the original site visit before they broke ground, I know Mr. Ferry expressed concern about the low end of the field, which is the corner of the land slope. The other thing is, when it was farmland, you gotta remember, it's not hard packed or anything else, it's aerated land, so when it rains, it's gonna go into the ground. I mean, that's what you pray for if you're farming, if you're not irrigating.
After the equipment's driven on it, it's all compacted.
A good contrast to what happened on Tremont Street, right around the corner on Middle Street. Mr. Evangelo had contacted the Stormwater Committee because he wanted to clear some land, and he was concerned about stormwater. So we went down and looked at it. He didn't need a permit because it's not 35,000 square feet. But the interesting thing was, because I did go there today, he's got out a silt sock that he put down when he cleared the land, and it appears that that silt sock, with the vegetation that's growing on the land he cleared, was okay. I didn't see any major mud flows or erosion or anything else. But that's because that land is stabilized. It's like, again, you're describing riprap, you're describing all this. Once you change that aerated soil, that good farmland, and you start building stuff, you don't have that same kind of drainage. That's why they develop all these basins and things. But anyhow, I just wanted to give you an update where stormwater is on these things, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nancy, can I ask what time on the 27th?
The Stormwater Committee meeting, 1 o'clock here. We have just got 4 for a quorum, because the others will be away. So that's why I'm gonna limit it to 30 minutes. We really don't have a lot to discuss. The report will be out ahead of time, and
Okay. Tom?
All right.
Good evening.
How you doing, Tom?
Okay, as you aware, we have limited information, I'm sure, but I just wanted to notify the board that I'm going to be working right behind the COA building to satisfy a grant that the COA worked hard on getting to remove those 2 ramps, or there's 3 ramps behind the building, and join them together with a patio, concrete patio, 22 by 46-ish concrete pad, and then we're going to regrade the earth not to extend the distance of the parking lot. So it's a close area to wetland scenario, but it's already a disturbed area. And I plan on using the millings, the tub grinding
It's
millings.
not that close. I mean, it's it's like outside of 80. It's not within 50 feet or
Right.
anything.
I plan on using the tub grinding millings down gradient for my silt barrier control, and a little further south just in case for the regrading afterwards. I also.
Sounds very good.
What's that?
Raw stump chips.
That's it. The raw stump chips. Weather permitting, we might entertain doing that during the winter.
Okay, thank you.
Just letting you guys know about that.
Great.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Sorry for keeping you up past your bedtime.
He needed something to do.
I'm early for the morning now.
Is there anything else? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at 10:28.